Lav and another user in my Discord reported each other to the FBI.
You're a fucking loser. I don't have to do any of this. My fiancé is rich.
They didn't block me on my second account because they don't know about it. It's Baby Bardo.
What clout do you think I'm looking for? I had a platform bigger than yours.
They're very much just really bitter people.
Fuck you! You're a piece of shit.
All of a sudden transphobia isn't funny anymore? Your mother has triggered you. And I just found a fucking voicemail. This is good shit. This is good shit.
Hey guys, this is Sick. I'm just doing a video about Lavloon. I understand she's had a lot of controversies in the last year or so. Many details about that unknown to the current community that she's in. I'm just here to sort of clarify a lot of those actions that she's taken, lies she's told about people. So I'm going to be reading out a document. It is a manifesto that I have written about her. So, if anybody wants evidence for the things that she's said, plenty will be provided here. But if you want to message or ask me, I'm happy to provide that. Personal details about her life will be left out. Just fair warning. Lavloon is a controversial figure in the online world. She's a self-made sex worker, rising TikTok star, artist recognized by Billie Eilish.
Yours.
I would probably say I would say the songs I wish I wrote. That's how I'll answer that. Would be Off to the Races by Lana Del Rey, From Me the Moon by Lav.
That's me! That's my song, bitch!
And now, Twitch and YouTube streamer. She often takes hard stances in life, speaking out about issues not recognized or cared about by many. She talks about her own struggles in her past, being stuck doing sex work as a career.
No, I think it's done a lot of damage to me, and I want to stop, but I have no other source of income and no education.
Oh my god, you're gonna damage me. They like that. That is
okay, well then that is not for me. That is not for me.
Then you should make it private and shut it down.
Yeah, I want to, but it's my only source of income. I'm disabled, so.
Okay.
I have a heart condition. It's really hard to work. And I have no formal education.
The pressure that women face to enter the sex industry.
I'm working at Hooters. People are asking me to do things for money. People are asking me, begging me on social media to post photos of myself, lewd or nude, online. Telling me at 17 and 18 that they will pay top dollar to see me nude.
And the men who perpetuate and abuse that industry.
Yeah, so I start doing OnlyFans. And my content is immediately leaked. And then there are Reddit accounts posting my content. And then this is the first semblance of an idea I don't own my body anymore. I'm posting, and I felt this, and I remember sobbing for the first time and being like, I don't own myself anymore. This idea of autonomy and my body has been taken from me.
She's talked about her own mental illness.
I've dealt with mental illness throughout my life, obviously. What we thought was BPD ended up being autism. ASD, and a panic disorder. So I'm essentially disabled because of my mental health.
Growing up with an abusive parent, dealing with constant harassment and stalking online, and has run a campaign to out the sexual impropriety of a podcaster named Gabriel Gundaker, previous co-host of Podcast But Outside. Somehow, despite all these obstacles, she found success at the end of her dark tunnel. So what could possibly warrant a video detailing her actions over the past year? That's the goal of this video, to show you exactly how this female rights advocate has spun herself into multiple webs of controversy, how she's leveraged her fame and fortune to abuse and defame others, and how she lies about the things that have happened in her past. This video is not intended to be kind, just true. One of the things Lav claims is that she's a victim to constant vitriol on the internet. No matter what community she's in, people hear that she's a sex worker or that she believes biological female struggles should only be talked about in reference to biological females, and people just flock together to give her negative and unwarranted attention. While Lav does receive a lot of the negativity that she talks about, she always frames this as if it's off the back of misogyny, a misunderstanding of her communicative capabilities.
And I think my problem is, this might be an autism thing where I'm not really I'm not that great with like tone. I oftentimes like say things like very dryly and people don't realize I'm joking, or I'm pretty emotional and I don't realize I'm catastrophizing.
Or the overbearing online trans community.
People are calling me a TERF because I said that we should center biological women in people who are getting the most pregnant, or who are getting pregnant the most around conversations. Like, I stumbled across something that said vulva owners, and I was like, what? Why is woman like a bad word now? Why can't we specify like women and people? Like, it just doesn't make sense to just like get rid of it outright.
At no point, according to Lav, has she done anything so drastic that has warranted the volume of criticism that she receives online. Despite Lav's insistence to make clear how innocent, victimized, and misunderstood she is, Lav has a propensity to escalate or divert any encounter she feels like she can win, no matter how small the win feels. These wins can be amounted to a display of following size, outright harassment.
The non-binary joke is pretty funny.
No, it wasn't. It was a mean joke. No, it wasn't. It's just shitty.
Yeah, it's a literal shitty.
Yeah, that's pretty weak.
Oh, so all of a sudden transphobia isn't funny anymore?
I've never thought transphobia was funny.
Alchemy really triggers a lot of other streamers. Like, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm trying to, but like, Lav can't fucking handle me. Like, Mr. Fanatic fucking hates me.
People are really mean to you.
Like, all the Crucible guys. Like, there's
You're naming like the maddest people on the platform, to be fair, okay? Lav's been pretty mad for the past week. Fanatic is pretty mad.
I'm not mad. I'm just Jewish. I'm not mad. I'm just Jewish.
Okay.
And you think I'm an immature victim, but that's a whole nother story.
No, I think most of this is coming from the fact that you are blonde. I am Jewish. It's in my blood.
Okay.
It's in my blood.
Can we?
You look tall. You look tall. You look like Hitler Youth.
Jesus Christ!
This is Jewish reparation.
Psychological battles.
I think that I do have a tendency to come off a little brash at first. I'm not very.
I'm very sensitive to brashness and bluntness, and I mistook that for a complex system of manipulation and emotional abuse. That must be what it is.
Well, I do also think that you're operating off of the system where your mother has triggered you, and now you have this agenda that you attach to women.
Aha.
Her income, victimhood, moral standing, it goes on. Really, any strategy becomes good enough as long as the result is desirable. It's never good enough just to have the truth. The objective of her conversations is to win, and if the other person wins, then it's because they've done something to her. They've either abused her, manipulated her, gaslit her, or they just don't understand her. Most of the online loathing she receives is not an attack. They're retaliations, they're responses, they're recognitions of the things that she's saying as a public figure, as she likes to call herself, and as she is.
Just racking my brain, thinking about the time I first moved to LA, and I ended up meeting a very popular Vine star. His name rhymes with Gabriel Gundecker, and during our first intimate experience, I'm performing my oral craft, and he keeps pushing my head further down and further down, towards the place of no return, towards the place where you empty, about 48 hours after you enter, if you know what if you can catch my drift. And I'm like, oh, in my head I'm like, oh, this is happening right now. Yeah, this is happening. this is, wow, he really wants me to do this. And audibly, he says, yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's jump right in. And so, yeah, let me rephrase. Thinking about the time I, anally fellatiated, Gabriel Gundecker on our first date.
Gabriel Gundecker had garnered most of his fame during the days of Vine. As you can see, Lav talks about meeting up with him for a date shortly after she returns to LA. This would be in early 2019. It's important to note that Lav is 20 and Gabriel is 28 at the time of this encounter. While in the process of hooking up after their date, Gabriel had, according to Lav's testimony, slowly guided Lav's face towards an unsavory part of his body. I won't say what it is, just in case anybody wants to show this to other people. He says yeah, she says yeah, and in the heat of the moment, acts ensue. As far as anyone could be concerned, this is nothing to write home about. The entire video, Lav is smiling, she's casually wiping makeup off of her face, and ranting gleefully. This is a story about a celebrity in which they had an awkward, intimate moment together, and she had some reservations, and it seems she innocently thought it was an entertaining and embarrassing story to express to her fans.
That's the thing about stuff like this, right? Like, that's why things like this are so weird. I'm not saying he's a predator, but I'm saying he's weird, and I've heard that he's done very similar things.
Well, so we have to acknowledge,
just like me. So
I mean, we have to keep.
It's hard because I don't feel especially traumatized, but I understand that was something that was done to me, if that makes sense. And then the behavior afterwards was also very weird.
What was it?
And I don't want this to be like, this is my story sort of thing. It was overall just like kind of a funny experience. Funny to me is
what happened afterwards?
Uncomfortable. And
okay.
I feel like I can say my truth if I want to.
In this video, Lav is responding to a comment made by a follower of hers on the first video. This is a thing you can do on TikTok. The comment says, I can't tell if you're saying it was non-consensual or not. 3 things are worth recognizing in Lav's response to the commenter about her encounter with Gabriel Gundecker. 1. Lav specifically states that she's not saying he's a predator. She's saying he's weird. It's not a crime to be weird, nor abusive to gesture someone to engage in rimming. 2. Lav states she does not feel traumatized, yet states that pleasuring Gabe was done to her, despite her clearly stating in the initial video that she affirmed consent in the way that a person might expect in an awkward and intimate moment. She might have regretted it. Gabriel did not force her to perform the act. 3. Lav states that Gabriel's behavior after their initial hookup was weird and doesn't clarify this behavior, but it does confirm that despite her reservations, she felt comfortable enough to continue seeing him. Later the same day, Lav clarifies some details about the extent of her interactions with Gabriel. First, she unloads that she had been abused before and didn't know how to advocate for herself during intimacy. Then she goes on to explain that Gabriel never looked down to see if Lav helping him was okay on her end. Furthermore, she proclaims that she did not actually consent to the act, just to the intimacy, and that she cried in the car on the way home. Gabriel's not responsible for Lav's comfortability, trauma, or interactions after she consents and engages in those acts without resisting, in some sense of the word. He, at the very least, is not responsible for her past traumas, especially on their first date. A person's actions do not get to suddenly be recharacterized from awkward or uncomfortable to manipulation and predation simply because she happens to regret that interaction afterwards. The way in which Lav voices her criticisms of Gabriel Gundecker on Instagram, someone she now claims is a manipulative person who only seeks out young women to use as sex toys, is entirely incongruent with the way she spoke about it before the TikTok blow-up. It is not creepy for a 30-year-old man to go on a date with a 20-year-old woman. In the hours after the initial TikToks, Lav started releasing breaking testimony from other women about their experiences. Although the meat of the accusations were regarding Gabriel, the first private message posted to Lav's victim testimony story was in regards to Podcast But Outside's other half, Cole Hirsch.
Anyway, I have just the idea for a new progressive mascot for your school. Her name is Titty Pussy, and she's a woke, sloppy goblin girl.
We'll come back to that later. Out of the 8 total allegations Lav had posted regarding Gabriel, half of them did not contain anything illegal. The legal interactions did more to emphasize his age as a power dynamic, even though many of the interactions were coming from women in their 20s, and that he was a scumbag who also slept with impressionable fans. However, there were other noteworthy claims to be concerned about, if true. Gabriel was being accused of 1. Sleeping with a 17-year-old while in his 20s. 2. Drinking with and groping an 18-year-old while he was about 25. 3. Snapchatting and talking to tween fans in the Vampire Weekend community. And then 4. Giving an STD to an 18-year-old fan and sending them to buy alcohol. Keep in mind, while allegations are out there regarding Gabriel Gundaker, all of these are anonymous sources and potentially false unless actual proof of these claims are provided. Many of these claims come without evidence, including Lav's, and none of the accusers' identities are revealed by Lav, potentially putting into question how many of the allegations were actually real or fake. Other women, separate from Lav, have since publicly come out against Gabriel, but that doesn't alter the reality of Lav's part in this.
Okay. This is from 3 hours ago.
If you've been following the Gabriel Gundaker situation that I and so many women have brought to light over the past few hours, let me start off by saying that over 500,000 people watched the video that I originally made of my experience with Gabriel. And then after sharing, my DMs were flooded with women who either had something similar or something more severe, or ex-girlfriends confirming that he was manipulative and abusive. And yeah, I can't let this go without him seeing some real consequences or more testimonies. So if you were involved with Gabriel Gundaker in any way, please, I want to share your story using my platform, whether or not you anonymous. I will respect that. And then I'm going to attach a few screenshots of women who have already come forward.
Oh wait, she might just be attaching the screenshots of the stuff that we already saw.
Are heard as a collective, and solidarity is our greatest strength as women, as AFAB people, as victims. So,
that's what I'm saying.
Lav makes this TikTok addressing her concerns regarding women having similar testimony to hers or worse. The only issue here is that the first 2 TikToks made the day before, there was nothing predatory claimed by Lav aside from a claim that Gabriel would make her perform a grooming ritual to repeat that he wasn't creepy for being attracted to her. Even this, on its face, is odd considering he's 28 at the time and Lav is 20. It sounds weird someone of age would even do this in such a way. She awkwardly fed into a gestured request.
And audibly, he says, yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's jump right in. Let's jump right in.
And continued to go on more dates with Gabriel. She did not expand on her interactions with Gabriel until after she received other testimonies. Even then, Lav's own story is her expecting Gabriel to be hyper-aware that he's triggering trauma, yet still continuing to go on dates with him despite this. Again, it is not Gabriel's responsibility to tend to a trauma that Lav herself is not respecting the boundaries for. Despite this, she says she cannot rest until Gabriel faces more punishment and or more testimonies.
This is from an hour ago.
I just wanted to also say, like, based on the overall air of the first video that I made, at the time of posting the first video, obviously I had no idea the extent of trauma that Gabriel had caused other women. I had heard things that he was, like, creepy, but, you know, there's only so much you can do with creepy. Like, if men, you know, if this 30-year-old man is, like, exclusively dating 20-year-olds, it's like, okay, that's pretty normal in Los Angeles.
Is that normal?
Rationalized for, like, literally 2.5 years what he did to me during our intimate situation. And then thinking it was funny, like, or convincing myself it was funny as a survival skill. Very similarly, I did this when, after I was R-worded, also 3 years ago, and didn't really realize the extent of the trauma until really, like, getting into it. And now, being, like, an adult woman, 23, looking back at when I was freshly 20 and had known Gabriel, it's so crazy the experience I've had now. And it's insane to me how long I justified those actions, because it was so normal that if a man, like, kind of makes you do something you're not comfortable with during an instance where you already had given consent for other things, you just go along with it. Like, that's so ingrained into the female psyche, I think. For clarification, I always knew that it made me severely uncomfortable, and I've thought about it so often, to the point where, you know, you just don't think about things that don't traumatize you as often as I've thought about this instance that I had with Gabriel. But knowing it was wrong, sharing my story to just get it out, and then seeing so many women say, yeah, girl, that's, like, not okay and not normal. Like, really, really put things into perspective, because I would say the same thing to someone that was coming forward with that sort of information, but I wasn't giving myself the courtesy of allowing myself to be uncomfortable or classify that as a trauma. So, yeah.
Lav tells her audience that when she made her first TikTok, she was unaware of the extent of Gabriel's actions and had only heard rumors that he was creepy. Make note of that, because she was not emotionally affected by the actions of Gabriel in any visible or audible way, except for an awkward smile, until she started receiving testimonies from anonymous sources. She also comments that a 30-year-old man dating exclusively 20-year-old women is normal in Los Angeles, as if it's a damning statement that a male might regularly seek out a younger woman of legal age. Lav actively admits she internalizes her awkward and intimate moment with him as a survival skill, because she did not realize the extent of a trauma she incurred from being raped in the months preceding. It's awful that Lav was raped. I repeat, it is awful that Lav was raped. I'm not going to question the validity of that. It is awful. Despite this, Lav is responsible, again, for her own traumas, for voicing it, for respecting it, and holding that boundary. Nobody else. This is a witch hunt, but it's not Lav's witch hunt, or at least it shouldn't be. Lav receives additional criticisms regarding her allegations against Gabriel and decides to respond to some of the claims and clarify her story even further. She reiterates that she didn't consent to the behavior, but she's not willing to call it assault at the moment. At the moment, it either was or it wasn't assault. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Lav describes the order of engagements leading up to the sexual encounter at Gabriel's house. She claims to have met Gabriel on Tinder. That's also important to know, because she brings up his notoriety before as a means for how she was easily wooed and manipulated, but this would be mitigated or non-existent if they met over Tinder, because he's not approaching her as a fan. Being enamored with Gabriel's platform is on Lav, not on him. That's something she valued. Lav even previously admits she already has her own platform she's been building, and future Lav seems to agree with me on principle that when a woman has a big enough platform, the power dynamic that could be had is essentially non-existent. Gabriel, as she describes, was touchy and intimate. She describes pushing him off in jest, which indicates playfulness. She told Gabriel she wasn't an on-the-first-date kind of girl, but they get into bed anyways and cuddle. As she described before, acts ensue. In a third Instagram post, Lav goes into detail about that weird behavior Gabriel was engaging in during her TikTok post responding to a fan.
And then the behavior afterwards was also very weird.
What was it?
In an effort to clearly lay out why Gabriel might be acting weird in the story Lav tells, I'm going to lay out this story very clearly, step by step, in the order that events happen. 1. Lav goes on a date with another guy. We'll call him John Doe. 2. John Doe explains to Lav that the girl he just ended things with is dating an old Vine creator. We'll call her Misty. 3. Lav asks who it is and finds out Misty is seeing Gabriel Gundaker. 4. Lav tells John Doe that Gabriel is 3 things: creepy, constantly talked about her age, and then tells the story of Gabriel making her give a rim job. Making. 5. John Doe texts this to Misty. 6. Lav gets a call from Gabriel pleading to explain he's not a creep and that he isn't a bad guy. 7. Lav leaves John Doe's house, vowing to never talk to Gabriel again. 8. Lav apparently keeps a cordial relationship with Gabriel, liking and commenting on his stuff on Instagram. Now, I'm just going to come out and say it. This does not sound at all like Lav was victimized. Keep in mind, all of this is long before Lav ever speaks out about Gabriel on TikTok or knows of his abuse, and so she has no credibility in framing Gabriel the way she did, other than her own personal reservations with the acts she willingly engaged in. Gabriel is pleading with her to not sabotage a dating relationship he's in. Lav is also telling people Gabriel was a creep for wanting a sexual interest of his in the heat of the moment. She vows never to talk to Gabriel again, but keeps interacting and commenting on his social media platforms. Lav later posts a final allegation from a woman who claims to be, again, in their 20s, and a final story declaring to the world that Gabriel is passing around STDs to women, giving alcohol to underage women without stating they're actually above 18, which Lav admits context for words like that might be important when pedophilic implications are involved.
And it's like, okay, but you're telling people that I'm sexualizing minors and you know the context? Like, I told him the context and he just like didn't care. Anyway, that's a whole separate thing though.
But to be clear, like he's not going into his Discord and being like, "Hey guys, this is this person's name. This is how you contact them." Like,
well, he made an example out of me
so
on the hotline. He was like degrading me. He was calling me a demon. He was like, "Avoid women like this." Like he absolutely was like. I mean, you've got to know as a content creator what saying things like that is going to do.
Preying on women in their late teens, despite over half of the allegations of manipulative behavior are from women in their 20s, and then dating a woman he met when she was 15. This one seems to be true. We'll get into why I believe that later, but carrying on. None of the identities for the allegations can be verified, and nothing can be specifically addressed by Gabriel without an identity attached to them. Even trying to address an anonymous allegation validates the idea that a story could be accurate. That doesn't even mean they're fake. It just means they're impossible to address without outright dismissal or trying to play guess who on who's the accuser. I believe a lot of Lav's story with Gabriel is true. I just also believe there's many things that are embellished, mischaracterized, or misrepresented in its framing. You can determine the difference for yourself, as it's not really my place to say, but many aspects involving how her story with Gabriel unfolds does not line up with how it was originally presented and how she clarifies details later on. Many things are mismatched. Circling back to the very first testimony Lav had posted on her Instagram, this had nothing to do with Gabriel Gundaker at all. This story directly implicated Cole Hirsch, Gabriel's co-host. Like many of the stories before, nothing in the allegation are crimes by any means, except for a claim that Cole had infected the accuser with an STD and lied about it to a woman he started dating afterwards, which is worth looking into. The woman states that she was of legal age when they met and did not start dating until 2 years after. The rest of this accusation seems to be the manifestation of what a person might envision to be a long-distance sexual assaulting, undercover, pedophile superspreader supervillain. Cole responds to the allegations against him in his private paid-only Discord server, stating that the accuser was actually an abuser he had to cut out of his life and led to him seeking therapy over their interactions. Cole accuses the woman in question of being extremely misleading, but shows empathy towards her side of the story. Sympathies are given to any woman who is affected by Gabriel's actions, and patience is asked for by Cole from his community to wait until he decides how to address claims against him outside of the Discord. Of course, a fan inside the podcast but outside Discord server leaks Cole's message to Lav almost immediately. Lav responds to Cole's Discord announcement. She identifies that Cole doesn't address predatory behavior, although this is because he's claiming that his accuser is actually his own abuser. Apparently, according to Lav, the abuse of the accuser towards Cole might not even matter because there's a power dynamic at play and the woman is younger. Lav also attempts to point out that Cole doesn't denounce his friend Gabe in the statement, despite explicitly stating, "It's sad to hear, and our sympathies are with anyone who's been hurt by his actions." Cole also addressed two fans in the Discord server that him and Andrew, another crew member, have no plans to do another show with Gabriel. This is another example of Lav perpetuating a witch hunt, this time simply for not responding to a situation as she specifically desires Cole and the gang to. Shortly following her response to Cole's Discord announcement, Lav drops more allegations against Cole. The first is that he's a creep and makes sexual remarks openly. The second is a second-hand testimony that he dated a 19-year-old girl 7 years younger than him and took her out to bars. The third is another second-hand testimony with the accuser stating he dated a girl that was about 2 years younger than the accuser without ever putting the age out. The accuser is 19. Presumably, the girl in question would be 17. Cole addresses some of the claims levied at him. He immediately denounces two of the claims and again says that this is another ploy from his alleged abusive ex-girlfriend. Cole addresses the third claim of potentially dating a 17-year-old. Cole had actually reached out to the, at the time, supposed 17-year-old victim in question to confirm some details. The anonymous woman not only confirms that what she had experienced with Cole is completely different to the testimonies given to Lav, but that she had also been privately contacted by an ex of Cole's trying to coerce the anonymous source into saying things about Cole. Cole brings up another testimonial of a girl who had dated not only Cole, but Gabriel too. At the time of Cole and this woman supposedly dating, he was 22, she was 19. The girl had nothing but nice things to say about Cole the entire time, and brings up other people reaching out to her for support she doesn't even necessarily need. The anonymous woman also confirms that all of the support she receives is centered around Gabriel and has nothing to do with Cole anyways, and wishes him well. Even more testimony is given towards Cole's character, including testimony from his girlfriend, which I'm not going to include because that would be expected if he is abusing his partners. So that one gets tossed to the side. Sorry. Cole posts another screenshot of him sending a request to the previous anonymous woman, assumed to be 17. This woman apparently was reached out to by Cole's alleged stalker ex for damning testimony against him. Cole asks this girl to message Lav about her experience and that she wasn't underage at the time of dating. The girl complies, but states that she doesn't want to be put in the middle of the situation between him and Lav. In the replies to Cole, his ex confirms that she was in fact not underage at the time of them being together. Cole also calls out Lav on posting so many anonymous sources without verifying the claims and saying it's incredibly irresponsible for her to leave many of the claims up on her Instagram stories, despite many of the accusations already being refuted, and accuses Lav of not posting evidence that doesn't fit her narrative. As a crew, Podcast But Outside, through Cole, removes all mention of Gabriel from their YouTube channel and appeases Lav by apologizing for not addressing the claims against Gabriel in the way that she wanted. Lav posts another Instagram story, claiming that Cole hasn't posted anything proving the anonymous allegations false, but if a story regarding Cole was false, there would be no way to prove this. You can't prove a negative. On top of this, Lav recognizes that the other girls do not corroborate the allegations made against him, despite character witnesses being the only evidence you could ever use to quell faith in false allegations. Lav deletes one secondhand allegation against Cole because it was an ex of his who could speak to the validity of the claim. The rest stay up. Lav continues, stating that she's posted no opinion of Cole, only victim's testimony. She claims all stories and identities have been verified, but if the stories were verified, why would it ever matter if Cole could produce evidence that it was false? Also, Lav didn't post any opinions of Cole. She just made every insinuation possible to make it seem like he was being dishonest in his statements, including calling all of the women, real or not, victims. Lav also denounces any idea that she's trying to spin a narrative, despite this being the obvious end result of posting allegations and making comments like, Cole seemed pretty confident nobody else would speak out. Cole Hirsch addresses more allegations, taking accountability for going to a bar with the cast of Podcast But Outside with his 19-year-old girlfriend at the time, dating women who had an age gap below him, and then dismisses the claims that he actively pursued of-age teens, and specifically early 20s women. Again, outside of potentially attending a bar with his girlfriend, who was 19 at the time, nothing Cole is admitting to is actually illegal. It might even be irresponsible to hold himself to the standard that a person in their mid-20s shouldn't be allowed to date someone who's a teenager and of age of consent. There's nothing inherently predatory about this, and his explanation for why he ended up seeing and dating women younger than him is completely valid. Even in Cole's agreement with Lav that he shouldn't be dating young women as a mid-20s male, he explains that the women he was matching with weren't even fans of his. That doesn't mean that a power dynamic isn't present, but it also drastically lowers the capabilities for the power dynamic to be present as an abusive one. Nevertheless, Cole seems to handle the accusations with stride and displays empathy for those upset with him, his actions, and the allegations at present, whether they're true or false. Lav posts more allegations against Cole. One of these implicates Cole and Gabriel, claiming they Snapchatted underage fans with what seems to be an attachment containing a Snapchat profile belonging to one of the two. No conversation is provided to verify the allegation, nor a username, despite there being a picture of a truck in the saved in chat folder, verifying that some conversation took place with the account, if it even is Cole or Gabriel. There are also more allegations from the ex-girlfriend Cole and others claim stalked and abused him that amount to basically infantilizing and talking about how young she was, using screenshots of his old roommate to mask misdeeds, and that the roommate actually checked into the alleged stalker to see if she was okay, and then being a pathological liar and mischaracterizing the alleged stalker by proclaiming she has only ever defended him. The allegations involving the roommate specifically could not make sense. First off, the first screenshot is just a screenshot of the alleged stalker and the supposed roommate having a conversation about how Cole intends to approach the situation with the allegations. What somebody could say does not itself lend any merit to the idea that what they could say is true. It just means it could be hurtful to his career or livelihood, and that he's seeking to appease her to avoid a muddy public conflict. The alleged stalker provides a screenshot to Lav of Cole and the roommate apparently having a discussion about the emotional maturity of his partners and him dwelling on it, and then uses that to bolster the claim that the roommate had actually reached out to the alleged stalker in order to see if she was okay. If this was the case, why would Lav suspect one of the screenshots provided by Cole in his statement included testimony about him from the roommate herself? That doesn't make sense. Why would a roommate who also had a problem with the age of Cole's partners, none of whom have been underage yet, also be sending him messages about how nice of a person he is and wishing him well? Lav posts the messages between her and the girl who was initially said to be underage. In the messages, the girl quite clearly states that she's doing fine as well, responding to one of the stories Lav had posted, and then just lends more credibility to the lack of long-lasting damage due to the alleged actions of Cole. Cole puts out one final statement to close out the controversy. So far, he's addressed all the controversy surrounding Lav and the allegations levied against him. He agrees to some level of power dynamic in the age differences in his relationships and looks down on them. He says he's never given an STD nor tested positive for one. He did not also expose himself while being told about a rape or that he doesn't joke about rape. Cole delves further in his statement into the nature of why he believes many of the allegations that were untrue or unfounded came from his ex-girlfriend. The ex-girlfriend, apparently, would often threaten suicide as a means to hold Cole hostage if he ever tried to create distance between them. He doesn't provide screenshots of this in lieu of them being deemed too personal. He also shows screenshots of a conversation between him and the alleged abuser. In the conversation, it becomes pretty apparent that the girl in question is not respecting any boundaries of Cole whatsoever. He tells her that he doesn't want a last meeting, and she tries to negotiate her way up to being allowed to say goodbye to Cole on a phone call. Cole doesn't respond, and she says she is on her way. Later on, according to Cole, she shows up at Cole's doorstep and they talk in the driveway for 40 minutes as Cole wasn't comfortable letting her inside of his home. He states that the alleged abuser came by the next morning to leave a note on his vehicle's windshield. Cole then shows a screenshot of a bunch of blurred out FaceTime, Instagram, and phone calls, which he hopes we assume to be his stalker ex-girlfriend. None of that can be verified, but he attempted to. Cole then explains that he tried to block her number because she wouldn't accept that he wanted space, so she started sending him emails and sending Venmo requests with messages attached. Keep in mind, many of these emails dated back to early 2020. By the time that this girl was contacting Lav, she had already been stalking Cole for a year and a half. Cole finishes off his statement explaining the strife of his coworkers and himself, thanks his fans for their support, shows empathy for his stalker, and then closes off saying that they will be more conscious going forward with whom they decide to platform. Lav never addresses that situation again. Well, at least for Cole. This is where we get into some of the excessive self-righteous crusading behavior of Lav and why you cannot just resolve a situation with her. Even with Cole, who did his best to explain many of the abuses that he had experienced against his stalker, Lav couldn't be done with him until he had basically met her demands, somebody who wasn't abused by him. It wasn't good enough just to expose somebody, post it on all of her platforms, and take any and all testimonies without any regard to how true the statements were. She needed complete submission, only this time it was Gabriel Gundacker's turn, no matter what the cost was. Like a totally normal and not at all obsessed person, Lav continued to comment on mentions of Gabriel on Twitter for 5 months. She posted about Gabriel in multiple tweets. This even results in her Instagram getting temporarily banned, and then she's unbanned 2 weeks later after her time had been served. The curious part about the behavior afterwards is that Lav proceeds to go after Gabriel's current girlfriend in lieu of him not addressing any of the allegations and it seeming like he and his girlfriend are moving on. But here's the issue. Lav herself has already admitted that she knows his current girlfriend met him when she was underage. As many of the allegations against Gabriel amount to anonymous accusations of emotional manipulation and being into having his butt massaged in tight places, this is the one area where you could actually lend a hand in trying to help a young lady escape from her oppressor, right? Well, no. Instead, you harass them because they didn't take your side, apparently. In September 2021, Lav mentions to a Twitter user how Gabriel and Chloe could have potentially met when they were 15 or 16 years old, though with no definitive source. At the end of November 2021, 2 months later, another user by the name of Mia posts a Twitter thread noticing that Chloe has responded and answered to the allegations Gabriel's been faced with since the initial Lav posts in September. Within the Twitter thread, some screenshots of Instagram comments are posted. The first screenshot is of Chloe answering to the dynamics behind the allegations, her and Gabriel, stating that it really isn't her business, but that her and Gabriel are handling things privately and that Gabriel has always treated her well in their relationship. The second is a comment by Lav explaining how horrifying it is that Chloe lets her relationship continue despite the allegations, with all the knowledge of knowing Chloe had met Gabriel as a fan and while underage, an actual victim out of the multitude of empty, non-illegal claims that had been brought before, by Lav and by others. Regardless, the status of a potential victim doesn't matter. The victim, Chloe, not Lav, is still with Gabriel. The obvious answer would be to contact authorities, forward them the identities of the women with allegations against Gabriel, and then wait for a legal process or reporting system to do its job, right? Well, again, no. In December, a month later, Lav makes snide comments about whether or not Chloe is on a honeymoon or just hiding from the world in shame. In January, 2 months later, Lav is still searching Gabriel Gundaker on Twitter, answering random posts about information regarding Chloe's statement and other Gabriel Cinematic Universe related things. Since Lav is incapable of putting anything to rest, she again quote tweets Chloe, making fun of her for supporting her boyfriend after Chloe tweets about unfollowing Tavi Gevinson, a woman who had recently come out with grooming allegations against Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller, if you don't know, was the new Flash, till he wasn't. Like a somewhat reasonable human being human, Chloe blocks Lav. Like a less than reasonable human being human, Lav brags about the block. This is what happens when Lav has a bad sexual experience with you. What was originally an innocent story with a weird sex situation eventually turned into her engaging in scorched earth tactics. One man got publicly lambasted by his own stalker and strong-armed by Lav into apologizing for relationships that were totally consensual and legal, with no charity from Lav to pull down obviously fake stories. The actual predator, Gabriel, gets a multitude of other totally legal situations with anonymous women tacked onto his most likely illegal relationship. Lav conflates her story with a bunch of other allegations and then victimizes herself to his fame despite also proclaiming her own fame. And of course, she chases down the accused and his partner for months, despite explicitly acknowledging that Chloe was actually a victim of Gabriel.
I stopped posting, and then people got upset with me that I wasn't posting. They were like, I paid for this, you owe me. Yeah, but I was making $250,000 a year. So at the expense of my soul and at the expense of what I felt, at the expense of my fear, I was like, how can I let go of this money?
I wanted to talk about, because Max, I think that what you said earlier was important. I think that we should talk about our feelings. I obviously posted a YouTube video about the full story, but I'll share a little bit here. At the moment where I was like, these people don't give a fuck about me, is literally last year. I had a near-death experience. I went into cardiac arrest. Because I was drugged with meth at a party, and I didn't know that I had an underlying heart condition. I was gone. I was in the hospital for 3 days, and I came back. Well, one of the first things is I was like, okay, I'm gonna die. I had very positive experiences with OnlyFans, and it's why I stayed for 6 years. If I didn't do OnlyFans, I would not be alive.
Sure, but hold on, just to be clear. You said that like when you posted, when you had the heart issue and you came back and you saw people objectifying you, that was an incredibly negative experience. That was like one of yeah.
Like I just said, I had a very beautiful experience in a lot of ways. For the first time, I'm out of generational poverty. I grew up on fucking concrete in a fucking trailer park. No one in my family went to college. I live in a beautiful house in Los Angeles. I have I have a very great life. I see a therapist twice a week and a psychiatrist that doesn't take my insurance.
You have two what?
I was going to say very expensive dogs. I'm able to have all these things. I'm able to have the home I do. I'm able to have the things I do because I've accumulated wealth.
I'm sorry, didn't you say like yesterday that you had like a husband making like $500,000 a year?
Yes.
So how much were you making on OnlyFans?
I was, at my highest, I was making $300,000 a year. I'm never going to go back because of how it affected personally my mental health and my relationship with my own body.
You're never going to go back to producing porn or to OnlyFans?
To being in the sex work industry in general. Another reason why I quit is because I did not, it was a choice at that point. I was already making, I'm already taken care of. I didn't need to put myself in this position anymore. And a lot of people don't have that privilege. Obviously, this is a necessity, which is why capitalism is the bigger issue.
World-renowned artist Billie Eilish had recognized a song by Lav from Me the Moon on CBS News.
Yours. I would probably say in that, I would say the songs I wish I wrote. That's how I'll answer that, would be Off to the Races by Lana Del Rey, From Me the Moon by Lav.
That's me! That's my song, bitch!
This had sparked a growth in the views Lav would receive on her songs and a significant boost in monthly Spotify listeners, and had articles written about her. But this would also land Lav an invitation to the album release party for Billie Eilish's new album, at the time, Happier Than Ever. During the party, tragedy would strike. According to Lav, while attending the Spotify album release party for Happier Than Ever, she would be drugged and sent into a cardiac arrest. Out of being drugged at this party, she would be sent to the hospital, stay for a 3-day visit, and then open a GoFundMe a few months later for a fundraiser for $20,000. The description of the GoFundMe, which has identifying information cropped out to protect Lav's real name, is quite a fascinating story. Lav was laughing and having fun at Billie Eilish's opening party, and then suddenly she passed out and woke up to being put in an ambulance. Lav claims to only remember snapshots, presumably from cameras, and then apparently after coming to from her drug-induced cardiac arrest, she was able to remember her heart rate, drugs administered, and then being defibrillated. Doctors questioned her about her drug usage and then accused her of lying with her answer, replying that there was meth in her tox screen. Lav had apparently been drugged with methamphetamines. What her GoFundMe lacks in grammatical correctness, Lav makes up for with medical conditions. What was apparently found to be present after Lav had gone to the hospital was a previously unknown heart condition called SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. Out of this, Lav includes the doctor's suspicions that she might have an even more severe and rare version called antidromic AVRT, atrioventricular reentrant tachycardia. Lav also describes herself as being almost entirely bedridden since July 29th, 2021, the day that the incident happened. Lav describes what seems to be lowered chances for her fixing her heart condition every time she gets news, and then dramatically says she stopped looking at the information, while also stating that she's got a new addiction to benzodiazepines. I will bring up one immediate issue with Lav's GoFundMe. She made the GoFundMe on November 16th, 2021. She also describes herself as being entirely bedridden, but almost a month before the start of the GoFundMe, she is seen dancing with full mobility on TikTok with no indication that this was taken in the past, and then can be seen performing a ritual at a party she was attending with her husband-to-be, Connor, on October 21st. And then on October 29th, she's also seen preparing for Sam Hain. Now, this doesn't mean everything she's saying is a complete lie. It just means that she wasn't almost entirely bedridden since that night until October 16th when the GoFundMe was created. Next, we need to discuss Lav's income. Lav is asking for $20,000 for a hospital visit. The additional surgery For Her Heart was approved by her insurance. The GoFundMe is for a $20,000 hospital visit for 3 days. That's it. The insurance approved her surgery. This is stated within the GoFundMe itself. So sometime between creating the GoFundMe, Lav was able to get insurance for herself, get her surgery approved through her insurance, and then only be held liable for the deductible for the care involving the surgery. This is important to know because her $20,000 GoFundMe is just for a 3-day visit. She also says that there were 4 hospital visits that weren't covered by her insurance. Now, they could have been before a certain time lapse because your insurance does go back a bit depending on when you apply. But even then, the GoFundMe at most should only ever be for a 3-day visit and 4 hospital visits. The following is a list of details regarding Lav, her financial situation, and contradictory statements she's made over the last year since her GoFundMe. On September 24th, 2021, Lav brags about making a surgeon's salary on Twitter. In the comments section of a similar TikTok video where she's saying the same things, she tells a viewer that her insurance didn't kick in until after 4 visits. She's working with a single income, which we know isn't true, and the bills have racked up to $50,000, and she pays all of her bills herself. That part is also not true. You'll find that out later. Lav is also still negotiating sales of nudes on Twitter with an exchange capped to the amount of retweets and follows a person gets her. This last item isn't really too significant other than showing that she's still marketing herself on platforms for income, despite her not being able to post new content to OnlyFans like she says. October 20th, 2021, so 2 months after the initial incident at Billie Eilish's supposed party, Lav brags about using Postmates to deliver a MacBook laptop, praising how far technology has come. On December 1st, 2 weeks after the GoFundMe, Lav posts a tweet saying how much her boyfriend Connor works and how much he buys her. She also tells a commenter on Instagram that she doesn't have a brain surgeon's salary and that it was just satire. She also states that the $20,000 bill is a lot for anyone with medical expenses, even though Lav previously explained that the 4 subsequent hospital visits were not on her insurance and that had caused her personal bills to go up to $50,000 back in September 2021. Wonder why the GoFundMe wasn't for $50,000 then. In February 2022, Lav finds a small Twitter account criticizing a photo shoot featuring one of her friends. The Twitter account makes fun of Lav for sporting a fake Louis Vuitton bag in a photo, either on Twitter or elsewhere, begging for money. Lav claims the Louis Vuitton bag is real. She now also claims that her hospital bills had accumulated to over $75,000. So either her insurance fell through and she owes more afterwards, which doesn't really happen. The surgery was elective and actually not required, or there was no major surgery and she's lying about the amount owed going up, or she's just not paying any of her medical bills regardless. Lav also makes sure to do us a convenience by dating the Louis Vuitton bag photo in question to 7 months ago, placing the picture in question around July to August 2021 timeframe. The reason for the time frame for the photo being important is that Lav will say that she's only begged once or only posted her GoFundMe once asking for money, but there are obviously other instances people have recognized and remembered of Lav asking for money for this hospital visit. On May 8th, Lav makes a post about a multitude of girls simultaneously, stating that she keeps tabs on her friends' profiles just to make sure they're still doing worse than her. This tweet is in response to these girls who are all friends of Lav's, finding each other through sharing negative experiences they've had with her. On May 13th, 2022, Brianna, one of the ex-friends Lav was talking about, posts a TikTok equivalent of a manifesto accusing her of racist behavior, transphobia, scamming people on Discord, misrepresenting her income to others, bragging about Connor covering her bills, showing up to her apartment with expensive products despite the presence of the GoFundMe, and then abusing her impressionable audience.
So she was one of my best friends growing up. And then I didn't see her for a while because she moved and then she came back, whatever. Basically we had a falling out in February because I just kind of found out everything through one of her best friends at the time, and like a handful of girls have came out with very similar stories of just the way she's acted, you know, her lying and bullying. And she will say that we're like super miserable and ganging up on her or whatever, but it's really just, it's actually a great thing for us because it's helped us felt like, you know, we're not alone, and it's very validating for us as well. Yeah, I'm not doing this to be messy. It's just the truth, and I think the truth needs to be heard finally, because I feel like she's gone way too long with this huge platform she has. And she really doesn't deserve it. She's a pretty like heavy influencer. Like, her followers really listen to everything she says and will do whatever she says, which is really scary. First, I'm going to play this audio message that she sent to me when we had our falling out. And right after, I'm going to show like a series of screenshots that completely go against what she's saying.
I don't know what you're referring to with being kind of racist over the years. I don't know why you think that. I don't think that I've been racist.
Okay, so this is her admitting to saying the N-word and then saying she's not going to say it, and then this is like a few years later of her clearly saying it. Horrible. And then these are just like other people online that have caught on to her lying and being racist. And these are just like a couple tweets of her just being really ignorant and tone deaf towards people of color. This video is part 2, and it's solely based on the GoFundMe she made for her medical bills after her heart thing that she said was like super rare and like she could have died. Turns out it's like really common and benign, as she said. So yeah, I always thought it was weird because one of the things she loves talking about is how much money her boyfriend Connor makes, and she makes a lot of money too. So together, that's a fuckload of money. To me, she's a scammer. To her, she's not. It flew for her because she's white and she has a huge platform with people that think that nothing she does is wrong, and it was really weird because a lot of her following is like donated and was like, this is all I have and I'm giving it to you. I'm gonna show her like being super dramatic about it and then show her after completely contradicting it.
I won't, and I definitely will say, like, I do make a good amount of money, but I was also like thousands and thousands of dollars in medical debt. So I was just like, hey, if you want to help me out, here's a GoFundMe. Like, I wasn't like, I'm dying.
So I'm literally like thinking that I'm going to die, paraplegic, because I was so anxious and I thought I was going to die at any moment. And obviously I do not have that money. So yeah. So I create this little GoFundMe and I post it only once because I feel so fucking embarrassed asking for money.
So for some reason her GoFundMe is still up, and here she talks about how she doesn't have 20K, but then she talks about how she makes this much money, and then here she sends me this and says that Connor is paying for that, and then talks about how money's not an issue.
I'm protecting my peace and going to a therapist twice a week, and I'm like engaged and happy and like becoming one with myself and like ascending over this like stupid like gossip shit. Having a second account just in case that this account doesn't, like, you know, I'm an S worker, so just in case this account goes toe up, I have another one. I realized that like they didn't block me on my second account because they don't like know about it. It's Baby Bardot.
That's a lie. That's your stalker account. This is actually your backup account, and these are the 12 accounts that you stalk me on. This is her saying that she's not a bully and then saying that she can't stop bullying someone.
Over hating you because they're jealous. Dude, I think so. Like, they're very much out of, they're very much just like really bitter people. They're
I want you to be mad at me. I've just always thought that you were so cool, and you know, we've talked about this a little bit, but I always thought that you were like so much prettier than me, and I was jealous.
So yeah, we're like super bitter, but she goes on Twitter and starts talking about me. And I only saw this because it was sent to me by someone, and I hadn't logged into my Twitter in like 2 years. So I went to defend myself, and she called me miserable.
May 15th, 2022, Lav makes another post on Twitter that garners a lot of attention from old friends of hers and then friends of those friends, telling her ex-friends to heal in a spiteful manner and exclaiming her happiness with her man. In the process of arguing with multitudes of people, Lav adds more details to her situation. She receives criticism for asking for money for a foster dog she's adopted in conjunction with a nonprofit shelter. Apparently, Lav had spent $1,000 of her own money on the dog. When asked for the breakdown of what portion was from fans, $1,000 came from Lav directly, apparently, and then an additional $3,000 came from crowdsource money raised between her and the shelter. Of course, Lav explains she is still $75,000 in the red with her hospital bills, so either she hasn't paid a dime since before February and is asking for money for a dog from her fans, or her bills have gotten larger, she's paid some of it down to $75,000, and then is still asking for money for a dog from her fans. Lav clarifies that the totality of her medical bills was $150K, and she only makes $90 to $100K per year and had to take 6 months off due to her methamphetamine overdose, and will only make $45,000 in the current tax year. It's important to know that she takes no responsibility for any misconceptions fans might have in donating to her GoFundMe, as it's their choice to donate to her, and consequently, nothing she can do about it. On June 14th, 2022, Lav is confronted about having disposable income in her personal server by another Mr. Girl viewer. She responds saying she doesn't have any disposable income because she's responsible for her rent, all of her bills, her whore mom's rent, her mom's divorce attorney, her sister's medical bills, and her own medical bills. On June 30th, 2022, Lav brags about Connor's success and that he's an owner and CMO of Ridge Wallet, a multi-million-dollar company. She also talks about Ridge Wallet's intentions to eventually sell the company, and that when they do, Connor will find another CMO position at another company. Lav makes a point in an argument that she's still making $90,000 per year for doing absolutely nothing. This is kind of important because she previously said that she missed half of a year's income because of the GoFundMe and because of her surgery and stuff, and so she's only going to make $45,000 in the year. With as much as she brags about how much money she makes, there is no way that she was working for 6 months in 2021 and then only made $45K, and then was also posting nudes of herself selling donations for her dog for $75 and a multitude of other things. It's just, that does not add up. And then on July 8th, 2022, Lav brags about being 23 and making $80K per year, and that she's an established writer, artist, and internet personality while in the Edo Discord server. She also says, while attacking someone, that her medical bills are a lot for anyone to pay. She also admits that she never even addressed the initial $20,000 medical bill and hopes it just goes away on its own. On September 18th, 2022, I had made contact with one of the many women in Lav's personal life who had publicly aired their qualms with her manipulation, lies, and harassment. It wasn't uncommon for Lav to hold things over people's heads and find dirt on them in order to strong-arm people into towing the line. Even I had my own experience with her threatening to sue me for slander and defamation when I told her that I wouldn't let her set the record straight in direct messages as opposed to making this video. As a means to try and give a voice to some of those women, I tried to gather some testimony. None of them wanted their identities directly known, but I was able to get reluctant permission to post one person's testimony of Lav.
So she has this heart thing, supposedly. It's called SVT, you can look it up. It's common, and she tried telling everyone that it was super rare and uncommon. So she made a GoFundMe asking for $20K. That's when I started distancing myself from her. I didn't fully cut her off or say anything because I felt weird. Her boyfriend is fucking makes $500,000 plus every year, and she makes at least $15K a month off her OnlyFans, and yet together they just have a fuckload of money. And every time I would go to her house, she always has new Louis Vuitton heels and fucking just a bunch of expensive ass crazy shit, a house cleaner and fucking a new ostrich scarf, just weird, crazy, really expensive shit. So yeah, when she came out with the GoFundMe asking for $20K, I was just you definitely don't need to be asking your fans for $20K. Her man can easily pay that, like, no problem. And she would always brag about how he pays the rent, and he puts her gas, and he pays for everything, and he buys her whatever she wants. And she was bragging about like an $18,000 ring that he bought her, and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like with the GoFundMe, she was like, "Oh, I haven't been able to work because of my heart condition, and I just don't have this money, and I only have 20K in my savings, and I don't want to ask my boyfriend, like that's not his job to do this." Yeah, so it was just super fucking weird, and all her fans were donating, and they were like, "This is the last of my money, and I'm giving it to you." Like, it was just so weird because she did not need to make a GoFundMe. And then yeah, so she tells everyone that she got spiked at Billie Eilish's party, but like at this point, like I don't even know if that's true because there's like no proof of that. So that's just like solely based off her word. She's fucking weird. Like, she's a mess, she's racist, she's a transphobic, like, but like she says she's not, but she is though. Like, she does everything that shows that she is. It's weird. Yeah, and I've known her since I was 12, so like I know her pretty well. There was just like a gap where we didn't talk because she got sent to Utah by her parents because she had an eating disorder and was like super depressed. I didn't talk to her for a few years, but then once she got out, like we talked. Yeah, a lot of people from pretty much everywhere, like Utah here, have came out and said that they've had like horrible experiences with her, that she like hate crime someone, and that she was like super racist towards people, and she was just like a fucking bully. Then I talked to someone that was her friend that was close with her, and we kind of just like our stories just like matched up, and we didn't even know each other. And then like a bunch of people came out, and I was the only one to come out and say like everything. Like, everyone else was like scared. And then I learned from like all these people, like I realized they didn't want to say anything because they just like have done weird shit too, so they like didn't want to be the one to say it, and then her like kind of air them out too. But like I've never done anything weird to her, or like really in general, so like I just came out and said it because I'm not scared, you know? Yeah, she's honestly like very judgy, and like this whole persona of her being like a like positive queer activist that has autism, like she's literally the complete opposite of that. Like, she is such a manipulative, evil person. Like there's so much more than what I just told you. Like, it's just like so much. But every friend that she's had like has stopped being her friend because she really has a problem, and she's so far gone that like she's like convinced that there's nothing wrong with her, or like she either knows like she's sick in the head and is just like whatever, like I'm a crazy bitch, or she's so far gone that she doesn't even know like what the fuck she's doing. But she like really needs help. But yeah, that's why she's like just online all the time, because she has no real friends. And like even like I haven't like checked anything about her, so I don't really know. But like after we cut her off, like she started becoming friends with this girl named Melissa here from LA, and she literally doesn't like that girl, and she like asked her to be her like fucking maid of honor or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, like what? She's like clings on to people because like she knows no one fucking likes her because she's a horrible human. Like, she's so evil.
To close out this chapter, I'd like to point out that Lav repeatedly mentions a multimillionaire helping her with the $20,000 GoFundMe fundraiser. This multimillionaire she refers to is Phineas O'Connell, Billie Eilish's brother. Now, while her GoFundMe most definitely says Phineas O'Connell donated to her GoFundMe, when you donate to GoFundMe, the name attached can be anything that you want it to be. Hitler could donate to your GoFundMe if he really wanted to, and somebody wanted to play a good joke. Also, Lav's husband makes $500,000 per year, according to her. You do the math on that situation. I highly doubt Phineas had anything to do with settling a $20,000 GoFundMe donation. In the middle of May, Lav had decided to join the Mr. Girl Discord server. Shortly thereafter, many in the Mr. Girl server would remove themselves. This move would result in servers such as the Bitch Palace and Edo gaining a little bit of popularity. Lav would eventually encounter an individual named Bright Conference, also known as Bright. Bright was known in the community to be brash with his opinions, to a fault.
He's like an Adderall addict that sits in these chats for 48 hours straight, screaming at people.
Eventually, he and Lav would argue with each other once Bright had accused Lav of faking mental illnesses as a means to defend herself from criticism, gain sympathy, and a slew of other things.
But it really picked up a few weeks back when this other guy, Bright, accused her of faking all of her mental illnesses, whatever they might be. But this is somebody who also has a claimed list of diagnoses that he also says has not been diagnosed.
For the record, Bright's mental illnesses have been diagnosed. On June 11th, 2022, Lav would appear on Mr. Girl's weekly show, The Hotline.
Oh, my sign broke. Hello.
Oh. Hello?
Mr. Girl Hotline, how can I help you?
Oh, fuck. It's that easy? Oh, this is
that
crazy.
Easy. 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Girl would make some claims that did not sit well with Lav, and this would result in a subsequent conversation the next day on Destiny's stream. As Lav saw it, Mr. Girl's main objective in their conversation was to embarrass and humiliate her, even though she was trying to level with perceived similarities between her and Mr. Girl and was met with misogyny.
And the reason why I found your content so riveting is because I think that you are doing the same thing. And that's why I was leveling with you. And you took it into this crazy you let your violent misogyny and your relationships with women dictate the way that you felt about me, a woman, a voiceless, a nameless, bodiless woman who called in to speak to you. I also want to have a bigger conversation about why you fucking hate me. Why you think you can, based on your framework of violent misogyny, say to me that I am the way that I am when you don't fucking know me.
Destiny leaves the conversation, and the two migrate to Mr. Girl's stream. While this stream is meant to try and mend some sort of productive conversation between Mr. Girl and Lav, the conversation is met with constant standoffs.
A lot of what you say is right. A lot of what you say is valid. You know what? You're changing the fucking subject. The subject is
Okay,
you're
then-
gaslighting me,
okay.
but you're gaslighting me by pathologizing me, which can be used to gaslight people, by telling me
Okay,
that
I'm
I'm too sick and my mind is too diseased to
You're right.
come
That
up
is what
with.
I'm doing. I'm sorry.
Right. And so right after I say,
That's how I
hey,
feel.
the thing that you're doing that I think is abusive is super subtle. It's really hard to pin down. And when you start talking about it, you sound like a
think that's
schizo.
subtle.
I think it is subtle. And then you respond with like, well, yeah, you're too sick. Has it occurred to you that maybe you're just too sick to know what you're thinking? It's not a response.
Well, I said that your framework was diseased. But you're right. I shouldn't have said that.
Well, that just speaks worse of you. That with someone with such a diseased framework would still be able to create such a strikingly
Strikingly
accurate picture of your abusive.
You just told me that my framework was abusive. You said I had an abusive framework, and I don't agree with you. So I guess we'll just gaslight each other for however long this persists.
Stephen is not a young man I want to protect from you.
Sure, but
I'm talking about impressionable young men who I think it would be irresponsible to send to your OnlyFans because you're.
I'm quitting OnlyFans. I don't want to do OnlyFans anymore. I don't post anymore.
There's no better advertisement for sex work than reluctance. We both know that.
That's literally not true. I have virtually zero subscribers. I have not.
It's true. Reluctance.
No, I'm
is a big seller. Yes, I know. You're advertising your OnlyFans. It's a great advertisement.
No,
You
were the one who brought it up.
I'm a sex worker who's anti-sex work. I'm so uncomfortable taking my pants off for you guys. I feel so weird about this.
I think
they love that. They love that.
No, I think it's done a lot of damage to me, and I want to stop, but I have no other source of income and no education.
Oh my God, you're gonna damage me. They like that. That is
okay. Well, then that is not for me. That is not for me.
Then you should make it private and shut it down.
Yeah, I want to, but it's my only source of income. I'm disabled, so.
Okay.
I have a heart condition. It's really hard to work, and I have no formal education.
Okay. I have somebody in chat saying that your OnlyFans says you reply to messages. Is that true?
No, that's a complete lie.
OnlyFans is lying?
I don't reply to messages at all.
So OnlyFans is lying?
I don't want to talk about my OnlyFans anymore.
Okay.
It feels bad. It feels like I'm in a bind.
Yeah. I can see that's fair. Well, I'm sure you'll be deleting it soon anyway.
At the end of their conversation, Mr. Girl says he doesn't want to stream with Lav until she quits OnlyFans because of her involvement with parasociality and sex, and that they can stream once again once she becomes a doula. Lav states she'll be a doula within a week.
If you are not on your way to becoming a veterinarian in 6 months, I'm going to not have an online relationship with you. So if you want to have an online relationship where we're buddies in public, you already said you don't want to do sex work, you don't want to do OnlyFans, you want to shut it down. Great, because I think you should shut it down.
But you do porn, so I'm wondering what the difference is.
Well, I do art that sometimes is pornographic. I think that's different. That's different from. That's different from messaging with and saying, my newest picture is coming out today.
I've never messaged anyone.
No.
If I show you that I've never messaged.
No, OnlyFans inherently is structured to encourage parasociality. If you made a video, if you were like, I made an art video of myself naked, whatever.
So if I switched all my content to Pornhub, it would be different?
Yeah.
Just because you think that I could take
and you already said you don't want to do it, and you already said you're stopping. So make that true instead of just an advertisement. I think you're manipulative, and I think you said you were going to shut it down. So great. So do that. And then when you're on your way to becoming a doula, I would love to have an online. I would love to have an online doula friend.
So you think that porn? You think that because do you have Patreon?
I have a Patreon.
So what is the difference between you engaging in that way? It's just sex. It's just that I objectify myself.
Yeah, the combination of sex and parasociality seems dangerous, especially for you. Anyway, listen, you're asking me if I want to. Do you see how you're trying to? You're making it sound like I'm hurting you, but actually you're trying to force me to do something.
No.
You asked me to. You want to have an online relationship with me? Is that what you're saying? You want to be buds?
Well,
you want to be coworkers? Yeah. You want to be colleagues?
Sure.
Okay, if you want to be colleagues, great. If you want to stream with me again, those are my conditions. All right, so we'll talk in a few months.
In a few months, I'm gonna have my certification in like a week.
Great. Then maybe we'll even talk sooner.
If you're from the future, like me, you'll happen to know that nothing in the previous statement is true or mattered to either individual, to Mr. Girl or to Lav. Many users in the Mr. Girl community had already been interacting with Lav for almost a month and felt like Lav had deceived Mr. Girl. Bright, being the individual that he is, was gathering what he perceived to be evidence of Lav lying about agoraphobia. Another user, Hamburger and Fries, accused Lav of using Mr. Girl's platform to poach users with her sex work and said she had screenshots to prove it. Lav retorted by claiming that the users in question were all just friends of hers from the community. That's true. Her label isn't marketing her at the moment because she talks to pedophiles and sells naked photos online. Not sure about that. Everyone posts nudes in her server. This is untrue. A few did. Most people didn't. And that she doesn't need to promote her OnlyFans on the server when her TikTok following is 700,000. This is true. However, Lav did use nudes to gather her friends to her server off of a socially broken down bitch palace, making sure to post the @everyone tag as it would get eyes on the fact that she was promoting herself nude. Bright told Mr. Girl that he suspected Lav was lying about agoraphobia and said as much to him. Mr. Girl thanked Bright for confirming his suspicions. Whether or not Bright was or is correct about Lav not having agoraphobia, it made sense for him to think so, since she had unloaded many details about her life that might be hard to parse out how honest she is. Some of these things are seeing multiple therapists as a child, each with different diagnoses for her, not having disposable income, but somehow being able to afford $300 of therapy twice a week, and then being so violently ill due to her panic disorder that she's unable to leave her house. And then when you juxtapose that with her leaving the house on multiple occasions in a span of days to prove a point to people, including being on vacation with her fiancé Connor, it can be pretty confusing. Quick disclaimer, most of the screenshots going forward in this section will be doctored or collated as to make it clear the direction of a conversation and not dilute any important conversations with unrelated messages. It's important to know that Lav and PBLC are friends at this point, and Price would eventually become a moderator of Lav. June 17th, 2022, day 0. As tensions rolled high in the servers orbiting Mr. Girl, Bright was met with excess and undue amounts of criticisms for his comment to Mr. Girl by a few of the Discord inhabitants that happened to have a liking for Lav. PBLC states how repugnant Bright's behavior was. Lav calls Bright a piece of shit. Price calls Bright out for publicly stating his views, and then Bright says that saying Lav faked agoraphobia was just a meme. Not exactly the most responsible thing to do. PBLC calls Bright a bad person and tells him to get off the fucking internet and focus on getting your kid back and fixing your child support situation. Lav calls Mr. Girl a bully. Bright calls out PBLC for going for a low blow, and then PBLC, of course, responds by stating he doesn't give a shit about low blows for somebody who is trashing people in front of public figures. That'll be funny later. Bright asks to be left alone. PBLC responds by calling him a fucking retard, and then tells Bright to call his kid and fix his shitty life. It's also important to note that Bright is in his early 20s, and PBLC is a few years older and without a child. It makes sense that Bright might not have his life figured out completely. These attacks will be a theme going forward. June 19th, 2022. Day 2. Lav writes off PBLC's nasty comments as only being in response to Bright victimizing himself. What she calls victimization is just Bright saying he didn't understand the severity behind telling Mr. Girl Lav was faking agoraphobia. She also excuses PBLC using Bright's kid and poor upbringing as an attack vector to punch down. Pepsalt, who is a mod for Mr. Girl, tells everyone to quit bullying each other. Many other users are also recognizing how unforgiving and harsh the attacks on Bright are already, and it has only been 2 days since the conversation in Mr. Girl's Discord server. Lav accuses Pepsalt of virtue signaling for Bright by telling people to stop bullying each other. However, that makes sense. Charlie, another user, responds to Lavloon saying PBLC wasn't that bad by reciting another message PBLC sent to Bright in a different server. The message is as follows: "You're just a little cunt. Go crush some more addies and fail to provide for your kid. You want to talk mental health? Try getting off drugs and getting a job. Try moving out of your mom's house and dealing with a child you had at 15 years old. Try not bragging about having videos of her being impregnated when she was 15. Lav says the message is harsh, but based, and a totally fair critique. Keep in mind, she can't handle being called a dumb bitch. June 21st, 2022. Day 4. 4 days after the Mr. Girl post, the attacks on Bright continue from both PBLC and Lav. Lav and PBLC both accuse Bright of lying about going from server to server to talk about Lav and the state of her agoraphobia. Whether or not this is true, what they're talking about is Bright venting about situations he's having with them to other people. That's totally valid. All of them do that. Bright says he was mostly hurt that people were attacking his parenting because they don't understand the sacrifices he's made in his life. Lav does a good job of diminishing the sacrifices inherent in having a child at Bright's age, and starts to meme about his life alongside PBLC, bringing up Bright's child, the mother of his child, saying Bright has no consequences for his actions, and then uses that as justification to say that multiple people harassing Bright doesn't actually count as harassment. It's a good thing Lav has never complained about like being attacked by multiple people though, or she'd be a really big hypocrite. Lav and PBLC continue to circle jerk each other repeatedly. PBLC accused Bright of fixating on something and then going on about it for days and accuses Bright of escalating, despite this actually being what both PBLC and Lav are doing. Lav repeats that Bright Conference should stop fucking teenagers and doing drugs. Bright can be seen trying to make a lighthearted joke to Lav about them both victimizing themselves, saying, "Hey, we committed the same sin." He also states directly that he was 100% in the wrong for saying Lav was faking her agoraphobia. Lav not only continues to stay aggressive with Bright, but accuses him of mental gymnastics to try and relate both of their actions. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice that Bright isn't much of a mental acrobat. He says things pretty directly. Bright also states that he only ever fucked pre-18 teenagers as a pre-18 teenager, and that his previous comment stating he was wrong to call out her agoraphobia was an attempt to be nice. Lav continues to ridicule him for getting a teenager pregnant. Bright agrees with her sentiment, presumably to not raise tension, and Lav tells him to focus on providing for his son instead of questioning the mental illness of women online. Lav gets called out for pursuing an argument, not accepting the fact that Bright has admitted to doing wrong and claiming she faked a mental illness to Mr. Girl without evidence or merit to support the claim, and then treating Bright in the same way she asked not to be treated. She claims he hasn't acknowledged anything that he's done, despite Bright explicitly doing so. Bright and Daddy Canada have a light argument over whether or not Bright actually harassed Lav in pursuit of questioning her mental illness and voicing the opinion to Mr. Girl. Bright states he doesn't like being labeled as a harasser of women because of the implied connotation. Lav continues to bully Bright and calls him a retard, and then, in the heat of the moment, says, "Do not address me, faggot." July 2nd, 2022. Day 15. Lav is having an issue with another user in the Mr. Girl Splinter server and is explaining some of the actions to another user named Miles who is questioning her. All that's shown here is that 2 weeks after the initial Mr. Girl post, a few people in the Splinter server, Lav included, have resorted to calling people Bright as a means to mock him when they don't immediately believe claims that she's saying. Lav, all of a sudden, makes jokes about Bright out of nowhere. Bright Conference, take care of your son challenge. I'm done being meek and letting Bright Conference bully me. If he's gonna bully me, I'm going to make him kill himself. Price points out how little Bright has actually been communicating with Lav. The jokes continue, now with PBLC joining in to gang up on Bright. Lav captions a picture of Michael Jackson holding his baby over a guardrail with Bright and his baby captioned on it, saying, "Bright, I'm sorry, please don't kill yourself." Of course Bright has a kick to find another 14-year-old to impregnate. PBLC corrects her by saying it's actually a 15-year-old mental patient. Lav continues. Bright script, "I have a son. I have no money. I was in gifted program in middle school." Bright voices how obsessed both PBLC and Lav are with attacking him. Lav asks why Bright isn't at his job. Bright says he'll explain if she's actually interested in listening. If it isn't clear, this is an obvious move to try and have a cordial conversation and not resort to engaging in personal attacks. Lav proceeds to egg on the attacks more, saying, "You be like, I sent my baby $150 this month. That's fine." Bright kindly asks her to stop. Lav gets called out by another user, Bobbert, for calling people misogynists and racists for making jokes and attacks towards her, but when she goes and attacks people, she also uses the same criticisms to judge those people. Lav, as usual, excuses her aggressive bullying by stating that she's basically fighting fire with fire by attacking Bright, "I'm a victim" conference. She says the phrase, "If a kid keeps trying to touch hot things, you just let them get burned once to learn." Just another reminder that she and PBLC started attacking Bright on June 17th. It is now July 2nd. It's been 15 days. Regardless, she still feels the need to continue. July 8th, 2022. Day 21. A user in the Mr. Go community, Jambi, was known for writing what were known as Jambi pastas. Usually these manifestos would be highly offensive posts, not necessarily attacking anyone specific, and if it was intended to be so sarcastic or bombastic that you literally could not take it seriously. Between July 2nd and July 8th, Jambi wrote one of these manifestos for Lav that was aimed at Bright. Here, Jambi admits to writing the manifesto and doesn't deny the claim that he wrote it for Lav after she said she was going to make Bright kill himself. This is that Jambi post. "Your son is probably going to kill himself when he finds out he's the son of a degenerate drug addict who's done nothing with his life and is a perpetual victim. That his inheritance is a genetic predisposition for addiction and social failure. That if his father makes allusions to suicide over petty internet arguments, then he's doomed to live a life full of abject misery. You should do your best to distance yourself from your son because being fatherless would be an improvement than the knowledge that he's the product of a pill-popping e-boy with poor impulse control." Lav asks if the server can make a meme out of Jambi's Bright manifesto. PBLC comments on how good of a post it is, and Lav responds telling the chat that Bright called her a slut for 2 hours the other night, and that she made sure to recite the manifesto until he covered his ears. Lav posted the Bright manifesto in chat, but deleted it. The post was preserved secondhand by a user-ran Discord bot made to log servers. Jambi, in an effort to even the scales, writes a zombie post for Lav. This one is also deleted eventually. She laughs at how unrealistic it is, as zombie posts are meant to be, and compliments how on the nose Bright's was. Zombie retorts, the Lav manifesto was written and posted because you dumped the Bright manifesto unprovoked. Even I thought it was too much to post publicly. It was an example of a nuclear option. Zombie's acknowledgement of the severity of the words contained in the post in relation to Bright is important to remember. Lav continues insulting Bright, noting that what he's confusing as social awareness is your ability to read people because you probably had to as a kid, because I'm sure addiction runs in your family, and the body keeps score. Another user, Pepsalt, posts a meme with a folded piece of bread, Nutella, and a sprinkled donut. Lav says, that's what Bright is feeding his son tonight. How many food stamps do you think this is worth? The master of empathy and reasoning, everybody. As a response to the constant harassment of Bright, another individual, Cygnus, starts to make fun of Lav and her life as a means to get revenge for her attempts to harass Bright to the point of suicide. Koiman, a user and YouTuber within the Chud Logic server, hears about the drama happening within the Edo server between Bright, Cygnus, and Lav, and streams some evidence of her behavior on August 11th, 2022.
So we can just, I think probably it's a good time to go into the evidence of sort of like the FBI call. Because this is something that Lav repeats a lot, is that she was called by the FBI over this. So here we can see, well, this is Lav's evidence, right? And this is the day after Mr. Girl tweets that he has been called by the FBI.
So you've given enough information where you can find his name, probably get his email, you can get all of his work history, you can get...
Apparently, on Discord, she said 3 things. She said Destiny told her that his marriage is falling apart. He's reading the Bible. He's questioning his existence entirely, religion and atheism. The 3rd thing is open relationships is fucking with his mind completely. He doesn't like it.
Chud, after hearing about the drama as it's described, watches Koiman's video but doesn't make it all the way through. Lav hears about the stream. 3 days later, PBLC has a conversation with Chud on stream to explain the situation, and a lot of statements are made regarding the conduct of Bright and themselves. Despite the fact that Lav and PBLC have both been harassing Bright for weeks for not automatically believing everything Lav tells her fellow Discord users, Bright is painted as a stalker on the basis that he has been banned on other platforms.
Yeah. So he's like a pretty prolific internet stalker. He gets it in his head. He gets someone in his head and he just starts attacking them consistently. And so he's like permabanned off of Reddit for doing this to Not So Erudite, things like that. So he's done this a few times, right?
Most of what PBLC just said in regards to bans for Bright is not true. The platform isn't right, the server isn't right, who he was harassing wasn't right. Bright is accused of just making things up as a habit by both Chud and PBLC.
Anyway, I got sent some logs of this Bright conference person talking to people in Stardust server, telling people I was not only in the server, the rape room, but that I was talking about fucking animals.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is part of that rape room server as a whole. He's like that's what he does. That he like makes stuff up and then he just spreads it, and then you can investigate him on it. Like I've talked to Bright, another person who's really common in those voice chats. I've talked to Bright quite a bit about this, or about things generally. He thinks it's okay to do that.
In Chud's defense here, he clearly just misunderstood what Bright was saying. Bright never said that Chud was talking about fucking animals. Bright said Chud was banned from a server called the Rape Room by a friend because that friend was banned from Chud's server for talking about fucking animals. PBLC gives a somewhat accurate retelling of the events involving Bright while omitting much of the behavior he and Lav engaged in, presumably to avoid painting themselves as an aggressing party.
So this is like where it really picked up was, so he had been harassing Lav about this. We had all had talks. Other people in the server had talks with Bright about like not being like this and not doing this, right? And at some point, after her Mr. Girl appearance, Lav and Mr. Girl were talking in Mr. Girl's Discord, which like never happens, like in text chat. And then Bright showed up to just be like, to just at Mr. Girl, because he was active in the Discord, and say, hey, I have proof that she's lying about everything that she's told you about all of her mental illness. I have proof that she's lying about everything. And I've confirmed it all, and it's all totally fake, and she's a completely fake person, right? And to Mr. Girl, and Mr. Girl was like, thanks. I need to hear that, right? Or whatever he said, just some approval on that. And then Bright sent me specifically a screenshot of that conversation, like I was going to approve of it or something, right? And I told him, like, I told him I thought it was disgusting that he's just harassing somebody for something he can't prove, hasn't proved, done nothing to prove, nothing like that. And then this incited this whole back and forth between Lav and Bright that lasted like weeks. And at some point, there was a copy pasta from somebody else that Lav posted that was basically like a KYS, in more words, towards Bright. And they took that as like encouraging Bright to kill himself.
PBLC argues that Lav was perceived as trying to get Bright to kill himself based on posting Jambi's manifesto against Bright, while omitting the fact that Bright had been cordial in text chat, trying to make conversation, and that Lav had been attacking Bright about his life over the course of weeks, or that she read the manifesto about Bright's son's likelihood of killing himself once knowing what type of person his dad was. Eventually, Chud brings on the main suspect of the call, Cygnus, to Lav's disapproval because she claims him to be stalking her.
This is criminal proceedings. I don't want Cygnus to be introduced to you because obviously that's going to maybe be uncomfortable for you, but I do want to bring Cygnus in. So I think maybe now you should go and maybe Cygnus can come in and defend himself.
I really don't think that you should. This guy has followed me around for literally months.
Okay, no. I have fucking protected you from him by not bringing him to the call, but you can't say I can't bring him on at all. What do you mean? That's crazy.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying that you can't. I'm saying that I've already told you that this has gone on for this fucking long, and if you embolden him, like other people are emboldening him, it's not going to fucking end. I just want to be left alone.
Despite this, like many crocodile-teared victims, Lav returns to defend herself in a hysterical and humorous attitude, almost as if she's not actually scared of Cygnus.
Okay, in a shocking turn of events, Love Luna has come back in to face her stalker at her request. At her request, she is facing her stalker.
All right, so to be clear, before we get into this, she's scared of this guy. She thinks she's going to kill him. I accept
chosen death.
Anyways, we get Cygnus's side of the story in regards to Bright, who was subsequently accused of misrepresenting the story at the hands of Lav.
All right, so Cygnus, why don't you describe the Bright situation from your perspective? Because I don't think we've heard it from your perspective in this call.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So I'm engaging in some interlocution in the good chat ESO, having a good time. And I started seeing this vibe from Laughlin that she's specifically targeting a friend of mine named Bright. She does so in a semi-coordinated way. From what I understand, she has people write messages for her that would be really damaging. I can read one of them up for you guys if you want to see it. Laughlin said, and I quote, "If he's going to bully me, I'm going to make him kill himself." And that's, some time before she made a message saying that his 3-year-old son is going to kill himself when he finds out he's the son of a degenerate drug addict who's done nothing with his life and is a perpetual victim. Do you think that's funny? Is that
I think it's funny the way that you're framing it, because I did not.
Yeah,
I actually said it was insane that John B wrote that, and I can.
Yeah, you read it aloud to Brian in the voice chat.
Hang on, we've got
copy passer.
Lav states that she told Jambi that it was insane that he wrote that. Remember that she posted the manifesto and complimented Jambi for how accurate it was to Bright's personal life. Zanya, being a sensible woman, points out that it is important for both sides to admit to escalations regarding Cygnus and Lav. Lav proceeds to pretend like the conversations she and Bright had were lighthearted sparring.
I think what we need to do instead is kind of admit and write off sort of that both sides escalated this thing. Maybe stop engaging. If somebody says something antagonistic, don't escalate, don't engage. And
sure, here's the problem is that it was between me and Bright conference, and it was like a little it was sparring. It was like he would call me, he would scream at me, call me the N-word, say he was gonna shove a gun up my pussy, and then I'd be like, LOL, kill yourself, bro. And then I can show you the screenshot of of the person who wrote it, saying that they were writing it and being like, oh my god, the way that your brain works, this is crazy. And then he goes on VC. He's like, nobody fucking likes you. You should you should delete your account. Nobody fucking wants you here. And I was like, that's interesting because why are people messaging me shit like this about you? And then I go on to read it. And it is scathing, to be fair. But even in the message, it says if you kill yourself over this, you're a pussy. So there, in no way was I telling him to like actually.
No.
The interactions between Bright and Lav were not sparring by any means. Bright had asked for the harassment regarding his personal life to stop multiple times, as you've seen already by now. Lav is confronted by a Chud regular forever regarding the fact that reciting a message someone else read is just as good as saying it yourself and mocks her for it.
Lav, do you acknowledge that when people go on streams like the kill stream, and the kill stream reads out the comments and laughs, they're implicitly writing it off and saying it to the person?
What?
You're trying to say that I didn't say it, I'm just reading something someone else said. But do you agree?
Certainly I said it, but I feel like he also deserved it.
Lav now says that Bright deserved the zombie post. This is completely incompatible with the idea that she and Bright were just sparring, as he wouldn't deserve anything if their confrontations were nothing more than sparring. Lav continues to defend the manifesto by saying that it's true that Bright does drugs.
And also, this is like all these things are like also actively true. Like he literally does abuse drugs.
Okay, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. She does not regret it. She clearly does not regret it. She's doing it all the time.
Oh my god, Christ, the way your brain works.
If Lav thinks that Bright deserves to be told to kill himself because he does drugs, here's Lav at 20 years old, engaging in a popular Twitter meme circa 2018 in which women would thank people for checking into their Twitter and describe a sexual interaction they just engaged in. Lav also takes drugs to this day and has struggled with it. As the conversation goes on, Cygnus cites more situations in which Lav had been harassing Bright inside of the Discord chats, to which Lav dismisses as humor.
Let's let Cygnus speak. Okay, go on, Cygnus.
Okay, so Lavloon did actually say, Bright, I'm sorry, please don't kill yourself. She said that attached to an image of her saying Bright and his baby, and it's an image of Michael Jackson holding a baby over a balcony. And then after that, she said, look how dumb he looks in that picture. I don't think that's like, I wouldn't take that particularly serious.
Yeah, it's like,
objectively
and then,
so funny.
No. All right, and then she says, of course Bright has a kick to find another 14-year-old to impregnate.
True.
Yeah, do we want to air out Bright's shit about how he got a teenager pregnant from a mental hospital? Or
you just did. You just did. You just did it right now.
All right. You know what?
Lav also attacks Bright for getting a mental patient pregnant. According to Lav, she excuses many of the things she says as being okay by defending it on the basis of humor. If humor was the perfect excuse for her situation, I wonder why she didn't give Bright that same excuse when Bright said the agoraphobia comment was just a meme. He clearly found it to be funny. The conversation on Chud's stream in regards to Bright ends with little to no satisfactory acknowledgement of the claims being levied against Lav. Her and PBLC both discredit Bright and deny that Lav ever had any intention to push Bright to the point of suicide.
But like, what I'm getting here is like, just completely own your actions, and then
yeah, and I am,
and then we can be okay with it.
It's absolutely insane to say that I tried to get him to kill himself. I will not own that because that's not what fucking happened.
Can you acknowledge that it felt like that to him and people around him?
Okay, but that
Bright
doesn't make it true.
Play a victim. Bright is a professional victim, so
This is
like
what he
anything that
does.
has ever happened to him, he's gonna spin it as if like it's the worst thing.
Bright's
in the
like a
fucking world.
successful guy and a great father. I think like there's
Bright
not
is not taken away from him.
Wow. Okay, that's it.
Chud reads a message sent to him from Jombi, taking ownership of the message as if it were meant to be a meme.
Who is Jombi? Do we know who Jombi is?
He's the writer of the post.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he says, I'm watching you in the stream. I own the post. I wrote it of my own volition. Keep using my name. Jompy Pasta is a brand. I give you permission to send this bit of the message to the arbiter of the stream. I am quite proud of the quality of the writing in that post. So I submit that as evidence.
And it was, but it was never meant to be said in public. And for sure, Lav posted that insidiously and maliciously. At no point in this conversation does Lav or PBLC admit to the severity of their own actions against Bright Conference, though they have no problem framing Bright in an unfavorable manner. No one is made aware that PBLC was also directly complicit in harassing Bright for weeks, lied about the status of Bright's autism diagnosis, or blindly supported lies told by Lav the entire time. No one is made aware that Jambi sending a message to Chud was actually to cover for Lav and remove her involvement, and no one is made aware of Jambi recognizing how awful the Bright manifesto was and that it was intended to be personal and hurtful, and Lav's posting of it was actually purposeful.
It's like the first time I've had social interaction because I'm agoraphobic for like months. And then you just like, I got on that first fucking hotline. And ever since then, it's like, I have no control over my own narrative. But then you said I was sexualizing minors, which reads the exact same as pedophile. You know it does.
I am curious, how many people get banned from your Discord? Just so I have...
You said, also he said,
She's the
I'm the first person he's personally banned. He made this announcement. There's gravity in that.
So you're like a super pedophile, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yes. So in the stream with Steven, literally 15 minutes before, I'm talking about why I think porn is so harmful. I'm talking about why it's horrible because when I was 11, I was able to stumble across the most violent porn within like 3 days of watching my first porn video. You're a freak. Your OCD doesn't say anything about me. Your thoughts doesn't say anything about me.
You think I have OCD?
Your compulsive thoughts? Yeah, I don't think you're actually a pedophile. I don't think you actually thought it was hot. Someone who doxed me, you kept in your fucking channel. So I don't know what the fuck your principles are.
Lav and another user in my Discord reported each other to the FBI, which most likely resulted in the FBI calling me to investigate allegations of sexualizing minors in my Discord. When there's people in Discord that get the FBI to call me, I really don't like it.
I reported him to the FBI because he was posting photos of himself with guns every day and talking about mass shootings and doxing me. And he has a bot in your chat logging everything, and a bunch of other chats logging everything. He's a fucking creep. That's why I reported him to the FBI, because he needed to be reported to the FBI. And then he falsely reported me to the FBI because of child porn. This guy's fucking crazy. He's psycho. And you're like, yeah, he has a home here.
Do you want to explain to me being banned from Max's Discord and stuff?
So I had beef with some dude on Discord. He was posting photos of himself with like a bunch of guns, and he was talking about like a bunch of like mass shootings. So he had found like my fiance's information and was like showing it to me as like an intimidation tactic. I guess he was emailing Steven, Max, and like a bunch of people because he was doxing me. He sent me a picture of my home. I decided to report him to the FBI. I wanted at least eyes on me if anything did happen, or if there was anything to look into, because I didn't know if he was in America, if he was wherever. All I knew is that he had my address and he was posting photos of himself with guns and talking about mass shootings. So it got back to him that I called the FBI, and he started this crazy smear campaign. So he started in the Mr. Girl Discord saying that I had like CP, or that like I had shared it, or I was like a pedophile. At one point, he was in my friend server because he had been friendly to me before he was weird. We were all in VC. Everyone starts sharing photos of themselves like before puberty. We're all obviously close enough to want to share pictures of ourselves. So I also, in my server, I had this like porn folder. So I had thought that I was in my gen chat. This is my own server. I had thought that I was in my gen chat sharing, but I had gone so far back into my photos to find the picture of me as like a 15-year-old that I had forgotten that I was in the hentai channel. So I posted a photo of my face. And then as we were all in VC, everyone's like, whoa, this is in the porn chat, you freak. And then I make the very dumb decision to make a very crude joke. And I say, cum tribute, LOL. And then everyone's like, ew, gross, in the VC. And then I delete it. This is what this person is telling everyone is like CP, that I'm like farming. So Max gets this like email from this guy saying that I'm this person. I talked to Destiny on stream about how I thought that porn was like really harmful. And I was saying something like, yeah, the first time I stumbled across porn, I think I was like 11. Took me like a week to get into something harder, and a week to get into something harder. But Max decides that this is me again, like
trying to get people to buy my OnlyFans by talking about me watching porn as a kid. He goes on stream with Destiny the next day. So Steven asks Max about it. Max is like, yeah, I was just watching and I saw a chatter be like, oh, this is hot. He said, if I'm titillated, then other people in chat are going to be titillated. Oh, she's actually doing this on purpose. And so then he decides to go on his Discord and be like, Lav is the only person I have banned myself, but this is what I've decided to do because of her proximity to sexualizing minors. And I'm gone.
Cygnus, who's been introduced kind of already, would see the harassment against Bright and retaliate against Lav for many of the awful things she was saying. While little evidence can be found in regards to the specifics of what Cygnus said to Lav, during his appearance on Chud's stream, he would explain some of the behaviors he would engage in against Lav.
Yeah, okay, so basically, Lavloon was in the Ito chat, and she was also in the Bitch Palace, and at that point I'd already been told by my friends that she was like really stupid. So I thought it would be funny to like make fun of her. So I would just like just debate random things with her all the time because I thought that was entertaining.
Shut up, Lav.
She can interrupt me if she wants. I interrupted her. So I think we had multiple like points in time where we would just like talk shit to each other. And it was mildly interesting.
The biggest attack vector he would go after her for was her husband-to-be, Connor. These attacks would mostly come in the form of memes or jokes, and Cygnus would admit as much when confronted about it.
I was making fun of the fact that on his LinkedIn, one of his talents is PowerPoint. That's what I was making fun of.
While Lav had mostly kept many things about her online past experiences and personal life secret, she would also willingly divulge information that many would consider sacred on the internet. She would boast about the career her husband had, past professional endeavors, money, all sorts of stuff.
I never by myself figured out what your husband's name was or what his employment position was.
I didn't talk about this willy-nilly before.
Wait, so this happened in a 30.
He got it from my Instagram.
Yeah, so this happened in a 30-person Discord.
Where did you get information from her husband being the CMO of Rich Wallet? Where did you get that information? Like, where did you get it from? Like, where do you find it, Cygnus?
I think I was told it in a voice chat. It's not something I found myself.
I was told as well. By Lav. So the OPSEC is pretty bad.
This is evidenced further by the fact that Connor had apparently made a Discord account which included CMORidge.com in its bio and was posting an Edo chat, and Lav actively bragging about her husband's status in Edo chat. Whether or not the Discord account is owned by Connor or not, Lav had also responded to the account as if it was real, and she had posted photos of her and Connor before anyways. Out of Cygnus memeing on Lav's husband, the discussion would expand to Cygnus having a server alleged to be dedicated to following and stalking Lav, and different users making specific claims about her.
But what that rift caused was like other splinter servers that split off that contained what I would say like a really negative fixation on Lav. And so there was a few of these like the rape room place and things like that contained these same like groups of people where they were in large part or had some portion of it dedicated to like targeting Lav or what they like in some way, shape or form. Right. And so this is all happening on the background while inside of these public servers like Edo and stuff like that, where these conversations would happen. They would be essentially like clip chipping all of the stuff that she would talk about. Right. And they would like incite lots of arguments and then, you know, they would have people recording the voice conversations or things like that.
Wait, sorry, Cygnus is here. Okay, listen, I sent you a message about this. Cygnus is here. What's the state of Cygnus now? Is he like a stalker level of you? What are we doing with Cygnus?
No, he's literally like, he's watching me. He's constantly watching me to make sure that I'm like, dude, it's fucking weird. I've blocked him, or wait, no, yesterday I had to unblock him so I could find proof that he sent, more than one Reddit thing, but I'm blocking him again. But okay, yeah, well, he follows me everywhere. He literally follows me onto other servers to tell them shit about me. Like he's fucking crazy.
That like has spun off into all of this like drama where there was like, you know, they accused her of having indecent images of children on her like another personal like friends Discord, which is like categorically untrue.
Cygnus did in fact have a server of his own, but this was not dedicated to Lav. There was, however, a channel dedicated to memeing on Lav and things she had said inside of Edo's VC chats, as Koyman points out.
No, do you think that after 2 months someone could get so fucking fed up with every day someone saying that that they're like a bad person, or someone fucking having a server just surveilling shit that they're fucking saying? Do you think that that is enough to make someone go crazy?
You make this claim that the server was not all about you. Stop portraying it that way. It's such a blatant misrepresentation to anyone that knows that server.
Some of the things Cygnus would be accused of by Lav and PBLC were posting a photo of Lav's house to intimidate her, paying for and posting her address, saying she was sexualizing minors, saying she posted child pornography, calling the FBI on Lav, emailing creators about Lav, posting photos of himself with guns, and then doxing Lav's husband's career and company by way of his LinkedIn, the last of which we've already shown to have come from Lav herself.
She was contacted by the FBI from some that was presumably incited by one of the people who also called or reported her to Discord.
When Lav said that Cygnus called the FBI on her, that was incorrect. Do you agree?
We don't know if it's correct or not. We have no evidence one way or the other. So.
Why else would the FBI be fucking calling me? Like, the only time I've brought it up is because people who I've talked to, like Steven and Mr. Girl, have gotten emails from Cygnus about me, bro. Also, when I have to defend myself against people who say that I had fucking CP, yeah, I'm gonna bring up the guy who literally started the rumor that I had fucking CP. Have you ever, I'm sorry, DK, have you ever learned someone's name and then paid to get their address? Okay. Well, it's not like I was like, hey guys, this is my life, this is whatever, please look for my address. Cygnus did not like me. He posted my fiance's LinkedIn every other day to intimidate me, and he posted his own fucking, what is it, his resume.
Wait, him
to make
posting
fun of him to me,
is intimidating.
and
to
then
you, or?
eventually he posted in a separate server a photo of my house. It was Cygnus's fucking server. He was encouraging people to fucking say I had CP.
Okay,
and then
Cygnus
he
didn't say
emailed
anything.
people, and then he emailed people about me, bro.
Cygnus was posting pictures of her house and her husband's LinkedIn and his full name and all of this stuff. Yeah.
He's posting photos of my home. Last week, he literally was talking about buying riot gear. He's been fucking posting, whatchamacallit, photos with his fucking gun.
Regarding the house, Cygnus did, in fact, post a photo of a house linked to an address listed under Connor's legal name at some point. I will not show it, but here is Cygnus admitting he found the house in relation to looking up Connor's information from his LinkedIn.
Where did you post the picture of the house?
I posted a picture of the house in Bitch Palace under the impression that it wasn't hers.
You went to find the address, you then found a picture of the house based on the address, right?
I'd like to know.
Why? Okay, so after the house thing, or before, the time on these things don't matter. Why did you start posting like the LinkedIn? What was the point of that?
The LinkedIn was being posted first, and I think that was just to discuss.
I'm sorry, what?
So the LinkedIn was being posted before the house.
Okay, by who? Who was the original source of the posting the LinkedIn?
Me.
Cygnus told Koyman before this video as well that he was under the impression that the house did not belong to Lav. Lav had also been warned almost a month prior to her interactions with Cygnus and others that the information and photos she posts can most definitely be reverse image searched back to her. While Cygnus did post the house that Lav says is hers, he did not post it in the same server as Lav. This would actually be done by a different user by the name of Bellini. Note that in this photo, during the incident, Cygnus isn't even sure the house photo in question belongs to Lav at all. Now, why would Bellini, another woman and alumni sex worker, have a reason to want to post a photo of Lav's house? Well, because she and Lav had been feuding since Lav had joined the Mr. Girl server, and while Bellini would return the harassment, Lav would take her comments towards Bellini to a higher level of insults. If any woman is watching this, here's some of the insults Lav would sling towards Bellini, All of the screenshots, except for one, are just in one interaction between them. Some of us don't have to try hard to be attractive. Bellini, you look like a leech that sucked on a dog until it got bloated and fell off. Pick your tits off the ground and get a job, or a sense of purpose. What's your job again, Bellini? Stay home? Get bloated with wine? I don't have to give it all up to make a living, Bellini. Pretty girls don't have to. Your children are ashamed of you, Bellini. Your husband is ashamed of you. Your husband is? In therapy. Bellini, your mouth is in the lower 5% of your face. I would really watch it. Bellini, you look like a bottom feeder, like a sucker fish. You're so blown out, you're starting to look like Zoidberg. Is that what sucking dick for money for 20 years makes your face look like? Bellini, you're built like a bored ape and trying to talk to me. Bellini, you look like Spirit the Horse. Cygnus also points out he never paid to obtain the address to the house photo in question.
So I want to address something else. I've been getting told that apparently I paid for information. That is untrue. I haven't done that ever. I spend all my money in the immediate beginning of the month, and then I have nothing for the rest of the month.
Cygnus did email one creator, Destiny, about Lav, despite her claims he was emailing multiple creators. Lav, when she first started streaming on Twitch, would host a public stream call in Edo, and Cygnus decided to confront Lav in this call about this lie before the Chud stream ever happened.
Provide some evidence for you. Or, well, no, I actually can't. My bad.
What's up,
I have
guys?
nothing
Steve
to add.
Ramirez here. I'd like to make a quick case real quick. Laughloon, I've never contacted Mr. Girl. You need to get better at lying. I've never mass reported you. You're just making that up.
Who is that?
Ramirez.
Cygnus.
Okay.
Oh god.
Holy shit.
What a fucking
Never heard
loser.
him talk before.
You're a fucking loser, dude. Like, get a fucking life.
Let's not try
to insult each other. Let's like try to hash
No,
out to understand
there's
what
nothing.
the fuck is
No,
going on.
there's
The issue
nothing
is-
to fucking do here. Cygnus, shut.
I think she's upset
Leave me
because I'm smoking on her
alone.
pack.
Leave me alone. Like this obsession with
can't
me is
scream, "Leave me alone,"
unhealthy.
now.
Well,
I'm not
hold
obsessed
on,
with you.
hold
I don't
on.
even like women, Laughloon. The issue is that you guys and Ito have been constantly talking shit about me, saying I've been swatting and doxing people. I haven't been.
Oh,
that's kind of an issue,
my
though.
God.
What, Cygnus, what is posting? Cygnus, what is posting?
The reason the Destiny email can be confirmed is because Destiny, without ever addressing concerns about harassment from Lav, decided to forward the email to her. It was stated directly in the email that the user in question, Cygnus, wanted to remain anonymous. Cygnus also posted photos of himself with guns. While this might look intimidating, these were taken in a shooting range in Hungary.
Things that might be, they have access to weapons, and then they also do some weird doxing shit.
Stop.
I'm
This is
asking,
not
I'm asking.
access to weapons. No. Having guns at a gun range is not access to weapons.
Cygnus,
can't
do you
take
own a
those
gun?
guns home.
Cygnus, do you own a gun?
I don't own any weapons now.
Like fly to
I live in
America.
Denmark.
great.
I live in Denmark. The images were taken in Hungary. I was not allowed to bring the Tommy gun
Hungary
home now.
weapons range.
Regardless, Lav had the entire Mr. Girl community in such a roar with Cygnus's actual actions combined with her lies that Cygnus was having to explain himself in calls to people about his proclivity to stalk and attack someone or lack thereof.
Yo, what's up?
Hello. I was just on a chat with but she said that you and
Nothing.
someone and or someone said that you sent a picture of her house to her.
Yeah, that's a
She's
lie.
freaked out. Okay.
It was Belinda
So
that
she
sent the
got a-
picture.
No one's fucking with her and going to show up at her house and do anything bad, right?
How would that happen?
I don't
You
know, but
realize that I'm not in the same country, right?
No, I don't. And I'm also, I figured it was kind of something like this. She put in a report with the FBI.
Yeah, but nothing's gonna happen.
No one, she doesn't have to worry about people showing up at her house, right?
Why would you have to worry about that?
I don't know. I just, like I said, I'll reach out to you and talk to
That
you.
is,
Go talk to
this is so fucking
It's dumb,
stupid.
right? It's
You
dumb,
have to
right?
be shitting me.
Cygnus was also accused of reporting Lav to the FBI for possessing child pornography and then references the private email Destiny sent to her. She never posts the remaining portion of the email that would even verify this claim. Lav was accused of being a pedophile, possessing child pornography, and posting it, but by a different person named Big Ecuador. Regarding sexualizing minors, Lav has repeatedly said that she was reported by Cygnus to the FBI. This is not true. Cygnus only reported Lav to Discord and had posted proof of his Discord report, the message link, and the reason attached. His report specifically accuses Lav of posting a picture of a child in her server's not safe for work chat. What doesn't match is Lav's claim that Cygnus called the FBI on her. While Mr. Grohl can most definitely confirm that he was contacted in relation to an investigation about sexualization of minors, he never confirms it's in regards to child pornography.
Lav and another user in my Discord reported each other to the FBI, which most likely resulted in the FBI calling me to investigate allegations of sexualizing minors in my Discord.
Lav is guilty of sexualizing minors, directly and indirectly, individually, and as a group. She's done it in the past on a different platform, Twitter, when she was 20 years old, making a comment about how she would like a 16-year-old Finn Wolfhard to do things to her without explicitly saying what those things were. In a more private Discord server that I was personally a part of, Lav talks about getting to work with kids again soon, and then wanting to be a children's performer. Another user on a now deleted account talks about wanting to open a business for children's bar mitzvahs. The user asks if Lav is doing mitzvahs, and Lav responds by saying, probably only younger kids, just the sexy ones. Now, this one was just a joke, and it is sexualization of minors, but let's keep going. Many users were also posting photos on a dating metrics site called PhotoFeeler. At one point, another user, Syrup, prompted Lav to post a photo of her 14-year-old self onto the website as a joke. Lav asks if the prompt is a trap. Lav posts a photo of herself to be uploaded to the site and judged by older men, explicitly stating that she is only 14. Syrup posts an update to the results of the photo, stating only men 25 and up are voting on it. Lav, without rejecting it, responds saying she looks at least 16. Then, without any prompting whatsoever, Lav posts another photo of herself as a child and asks Syrup to do this one next. Other men in the server are recognizing the oddity, and Lav not only posting a photo at the request of somebody wanting to upload it to PhotoFeeler, but egging it on after the fact. Lav starts to judge other users, saying that they're the weird ones for being uncomfortable with the situation, that she expected them to make jokes about how sexy they all are as children. Lav asks about the ratings status, and then again later refers to her own self as jailbait. Lav has also talked about being curious about the genitals of children while she was working as a teacher. She says she was not aroused by the children and that it was not in a sexual way. That is a pretty dangerous curiosity for a person with power to be in and have authority over children. Lav shared even more details about her proclivity to stare at children's genitals while at a public pool, again stating that it was not sexual. She describes part of a bathing suit on a young girl moved to the side and being able to see an exposed part, knowing she shouldn't be looking, and feeling like a pedophile for 30 minutes. Probably rightfully so. All of the previous instances were separate from the report sent to Discord, in which Lav describes to Not So Eurodite a situation in which she posts an underage photo to an age-restricted channel and captioning it with "Cum tributes, LOL." In the instance in which Lav got reported, she returns to the Edo server after she gets unbanned and plays off the situation as if the report had no merit. This is a lie, though. In defending herself in regards to Cygnus's report, Lav posts Destiny's forwarded email from Cygnus, 2 missed calls with a contact name FBI on July 26, 2022, and a screenshot of the report response from Discord. Despite her attempts to defend herself, Discord themselves acknowledge her guilt of sexualizing minors in their response. Discord explicitly states, "We found your account to be in violation of our terms of service or community guidelines. As a result, we're issuing you this warning for the following reason. Your account posted content that sexualized individuals under the age of 18 or was involved in servers dedicated to such unacceptable content." So unless Lav wants to say that she's involved in a community dedicated to sexualizing minors, she'll have to settle with the knowledge that Discord temporarily banned her for sexualizing minors. It's also important to know that Lav, despite having a very sex-positive server, allows minors in it. She uses phrases like the Discord people in her server being secret keepers, and that everything in the server is confidential. Continuing with the conversation on Chud's stream, Lav originally insinuated that Cygnus called the FBI on her when talking to people in the Mr. Girl Splinter community. She stated that an Agent Calypso called her because of a report, and states that she got her calls around the same time as Mr. Girl. Lav's FBI calls came a day after Mr. Girl posts in his server that he got a call from the FBI regarding sexualization of minors and uses this photo as evidence. When Lav is prompted to show evidence of proof that Cygnus called the FBI on her, she remembers a voicemail left by an Agent Calypso.
Like, you could just be trying to get back at him. That's all I know. Like, you've got no evidence of the things you're saying, so what am I supposed to interpret?
It was all quashed, and then you dropped a video.
Bring
about
Cygnus
it.
on.
I don't know what do you mean?
All quashed from whose
I don't care if
perspective?
it's quashed, it's content. I don't care. I'm not asking if your friend group is okay after this. I'm asking for evidence the claims Lav's making.
No, I don't think the friend group is healed. It's not like there's
And
a
I
fucking...
just found a fucking voicemail. Hold on. This is good shit. This is good shit. Okay, hold on.
This is the voicemail Lav is so excited about.
Suspicious that this didn't come up until right now.
FBI Los Angeles. They're going to speak with this is in regards to the threat you committed to us online in regards to the Discord username Genus, hashtag 2020, and the threatening remarks he has said to you and what he's posting online.
Ooh.
In the voicemail itself, it specifically states that the FBI is calling in regards to threatening remarks Cygnus had made to Lav online, indicating that this call would have nothing to do with Cygnus reporting Lav for sexualization of minors. Lav's well-thought-out defense for not calling the FBI on Cygnus is that if she called in a false report to the FBI would somehow immediately know or care and bust down her door to slap cuffs on her.
Why am I talking to the
You're trying to
FBI?
figure out the right as you go. It's okay, but
You
sure.
know that FBI like sending in a tip to the FBI is like illegal if it's false, right?
Yeah, I think that was a very stupid thing for you to do. Now, why did Agent
No.
Calypso
So what would happen to me right now if I sent in a false tip? What would
Huey Farms
happen?
audio. Huey
Nothing
Farms
to do
audio.
with sexualizing minors was in that call. That was never mentioned. It was about
No,
violent remarks.
queer man. What would happen to me if I sent in a false tip?
It doesn't have to be a false tip if you say I fear for myself. That's not necessarily false. That just means that you felt fear. What I'm saying to you is that call had nothing to do with Cygnus reporting you or Cygnus making a tip. It was because you made a tip about feeling threatened by Cygnus, and then the FBI followed up on it, which is what their claim was. They said you made a tip, the FBI followed up, and then you weaponized that call in order to smear Cygnus. And that is exactly what you're doing right now, and you've just fucking showed yourself by showing that voicemail.
I do not feel like that's true.
Eventually, after being pushed around for a bit and getting tired of watching PBLC play stupid for her, despite the truth being exposed, Lav finally admits directly she made the FBI call herself while avoiding dating when she made the call to the FBI.
You're so blatantly manipulative, and you just like go from one you're like
Lav.
you almost start to admit wrongdoing, and then you're like, actually, it wasn't that bad because it was a joke, and also I was never serious, and also even if I did do that, it was kind of justified. That this is you constantly. It's actually pathetic behavior, and you've outed the fact that you weaponized the tip you made about Cygnus in order to smear him further. You've literally outed that with that call. So I love you for showing that fucking voicemail. Thank you so much. That was a great voicemail.
How did you gather that from that voicemail?
Huh?
Yeah, that's not what the voicemail said.
PBLC, the voice call was someone saying they were calling about violent threats made by Cygnus 2020 on Discord. Nowhere did they mention anything about a sexualizing minors or CP report.
Hold on. How does that mean that she made the tip?
Because she has admitted, I have logs of her admitting to making a tip about Cygnus for violent remarks.
I did make a tip, but I made a tip around. I made a tip around. But here's the thing, also.
Cygnus admits that he did wrong in posting Lav's husband's LinkedIn and the photo of Lav's house in his server.
Cygnus, do you think, do you regret posting, the LinkedIn and the image of the house?
I wouldn't
regret
trust DK as an
disclosing
attorney,
any
by the way.
information at all. It was a really bad idea. At the time, I thought it was justified.
He's asked to explain feeling justified, to which he says it's because he legitimately feels like Lav's intentions were to push Bright to the brink of suicide.
So, Cygnus, would you say that based on was it a misassumption that Lav was trying to get your friend to kill themselves?
No, I think she was.
Lav apologizes for blaming Cygnus for calling the FBI, but stating that she doesn't care, wants Cygnus to leave her alone, and ignores any intentions to bury the hatchet.
Do you think that was a stupid thing to say, given that what actually happened was that Cygnus reported you to Discord, you got a Discord ban, and then what, like an FBI thing came off the back of that? The FBI inquiry came off the back of that.
Sure, yeah. I guess I shouldn't have assumed. But also, I don't care.
Shouldn't have lied.
She doesn't care. Yeah.
So you don't care.
Okay,
so do you want to square this? Do you want to square this in Beverly Hatchet or not?
Hold on. I want him to leave me the fuck alone, for sure,
Right.
for sure.
Despite the progress in this conversation, Lav never acknowledges that she used her own calls to the FBI as a means to say that Cygnus called the FBI on her. Lav still pretends that Cygnus posted her address, which he never did. Lav never recants her statements about Cygnus personally emailing multiple content creators about her, and never admits to the amount of her sexualization of minors, or that Discord agreed and banned her for it as a warning, and still to this day acts like the accusations against her were actually centered around possession of child pornography.